All right. Microphone check. Microphone check 1, 2. Hello, hello. It's going to be tying some flies. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's get this. Mic check, mic check. I think we're good. Oh, we'll turn this up a little bit. Bada bing, bada boom. Pop this sucker off. We should be good to go. Turn all this stuff off. All right. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Friday. Cheers. Today we're going to be tying some flies for the fall run. Got my truck on the road. Trying to get it inspected. I need to, I was driving it, but I had an evap code, generic evap code P0440, which I'm pretty sure is probably like cobwebs and stuff like that. I got to go take it on the highway and drive it, so I might go up the island tomorrow. I'm half tempted to go up to this one card shop and go play some modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I bought a deck, went once, and then upgraded it, and I haven't gone back since, because modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like the most crazy complicated card game in the world. But I'm tempted to go tomorrow and just play because I have it upgraded. I haven't gone back yet since I need to go drive like probably a good 40 miles, put some miles on the truck. For those of you that don't know, for cars and trucks and stuff like that, there's emission systems, and anything that's 25 years or younger, or I should say 24 years or younger, you have to plug in an OBD2 connector, and it runs a diagnostic scan to pass it for emissions for the state inspection. I used to be a state inspector, so at a mechanic shop. But all right, we're gonna be doing some fly time. But anyways, I've been getting the truck ready. I'm gonna start pricing out the parts for my trailer. I got to replace the U-bolts for the leaf springs and all that, and probably the rollers, wheel bearings and hubs, the leaf springs themselves, stuff like that, and a new jack for it. Instead, I have the turn twist one that locks. I hate that one. I'm gonna go with like a commercial style where you just pop it out and stick a pin. It's much heavier duty for a boat trailer. But yeah, so I'm pricing that out. If it's under like $500-600, then I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna probably have to start looking for another trailer under $1,000 and work on that. Maybe try and upgrade to a dual axle trailer for my boat. And then the trim. So the goal is to slowly do that, as well as keep paying my bills and all that. And then maybe this fall we'll be able to go out in the ocean and do some albie fishing on the boat. That's the idea. We'll see. If not, next year this boat's going to be 100% good to go. I'll fix it over the winter and then like do some scratch raking and some fishing and stuff like that. But anyways, slowly on the grind. We're getting there. The process is actually started, so it's only a matter of time till we're streaming some fly fishing on the boat again. So, all right. Yeah, today we're gonna be tying some fall time flies because I'm kind of been getting excited for some fall time stuff. And it's flies we can use during the summer here. There's been a lot of bait fish out, even this morning. We went out 7 to go work. Saw a bunch of birds working a pile of bait out in the bay. So there's tons of bait out around, either shiners. You're going to start seeing little glimpses of anchovies. Apparently, I've heard reports of bonito showing up in Rhode Island, things like that. So I think it's already starting to go into full swing. Generally around mid-August is when things start pumping up, and then September it's full-blown fall-time fishing. So I do have some size 1 and size 2 mustad big game hooks. And these are the relics of the past, the old C70 SDs, which are discontinued now. So if you can get them, get them. Because these are my favorite hooks of all time. I do like the new ones. These are thinner. They have a different finish on them, a darker finish. These are the C70 SAPs, the curved streamer alpha points, they call them. Excuse me. But it's essentially the same hook profile, essentially the same hook, but they've reduce the diameter of it by making it lighter and whatnot. It's supposed to be just as strong, or 2 times as strong as the old ones. So I guess we'll see. Maybe that's just 2 times as strong and not 2 times as strong as the old one. I don't know. But I guess we're going to give them the good test this year. And a lot of the flies I've tied on are on them. So hopefully Mustad knocked it out of the park. I have a feeling they probably did. But, I also do have... Oh, if I have 11 of these size 1s, I'm going to be so happy. Because I got an order. And I just need 11 size 1s. So I'm going to count this out real quick. Please. I'm so excited. It might be. That's 5. I just need 6. Yes! Alright, I'm good. That's a pack of hooks I don't need to buy. Because size 1 is not my personal favorite. But luckily, I'm glad to announce we are tying flies for Saltwater Edge again. After a little hiatus of commercial fishing last year. And I need to tie 2 dozen surf candies for Rhode Island. So, for Saltwater Edge, which, by the way, shout out to Saltwater Edge. I think they just got a new storefront or something like that, a new building. So, I'm going to have to go take a drive out there maybe next year or something like that in the springtime. That's how we got this Regal Vice, was by meeting the owner of Regal at Saltwater Edge. So, big shout out to Saltwater Edge. I wouldn't have had this sucker if it wasn't for going out there for a springtime striped bass bonanza day or whatever it was called. All right, let's start with some size 2s. Now, normally I like tying on size 1 odds for saltwater fall time fishing. I don't mind fishing with a larger hook, and even a size 1 odd is not massive, but a lot of times people are fishing with size 4s, even 6s for Albies, tying those really tiny anchovies. I don't think the big hook really matters that much, and I like wrenching on my fish to get them in pretty quick. So I kind of like the 1 odds. I will say these big games are great. The reason why we use them, never had one bend on me. I bent the tip, and that's of the hook point, which isn't the worst thing because most of the time you break the hook points off. I've bent the tip, but I've never bent the hook. I will say I've tied on different hooks. I think it was the shrimp hooks. I tied some albie flies on. Big mistake. Fishing out of Montauk, size 2 or 1 shrimp hook from Mustad. The thing completely bent. I mean, I landed the fish, but we're fishing off Shagwan Rip in a boat. It's a lot of current out there. So having a stiff and heavy enough hook to land fish in strong current, especially when you're albie fishing, because albies generally like fast-moving water, inlets, rips, offshore and stuff like that. Hey, Doc, what's going on, man? How you doing? I got to go out to the post office and ship yours and bananas because they're international. But for anybody watching, I shipped out, I think it was Jin, Master of Battle, AR Fly Fisher. I want to say there was a couple other people as well. And I don't know if they actually got delivered because I put them in the mailbox July 3rd. And I'm starting to think, was I supposed to use 2 stamps? I remember specifically doing 1 stamp, but maybe I just put 2 to be sure, and maybe the weight is slightly over. Now I have to go weigh 2 flies in an envelope, but I'm almost certain it's under the 30-something grams, but I don't know. I could be wrong. So maybe I just didn't put enough stamps on it or something, but I have to, reship, 5 packages domestically. I don't know what happened. I put them in my mailbox. Maybe some dude just walked up and took them. He's like, oh, yep. Let me go take those. More than likely, I probably didn't put enough stamps on it. Because maybe the price went up for all I know. I have no idea. Maybe the stamp, I don't know what the deal is. Stamps don't go bad, right? Nah. I think the price of the stamp just changes. All right, sounds good. Sounds good. I've been working on my truck, too. I got my truck on the road, been driving it. Unfortunately, I got to check engine lights today for an evap code. Reset it. I got to go drive it tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that's just spider webs in my evap system, which recirculates the air between the gas tank and your intake manifold and all that. And it filters it with a charcoal filter. It's just for emissions, essentially. But I've cleaned the ever-living hell out of it. Finally washed the truck, but I've washed the carpets 3 or 4 times, cleaned the interior, because I had my sunroof cracked open. The thing leaked all over the place. I should probably start tying flies, huh? Had mildew I'm going to finish this quick. Had mildew inside the car. The thing smelled terrible. I sprayed baking soda and vinegar all over the entire car and let it dry out. And it killed all the mildew. I sat there. I cleaned it 15, 30 different times with different cleaners, this and that. The car's like brand new on the inside. So, and I've just literally gorilla taped my sunroof close because something happens with my sunroof where it kicks itself open. I don't know what's going on. There's like something's messed up with it. And the thing that props it up is broken. So I think sometimes it gets like stuck a little bit, and it's just enough to where I like parked it after my brakes stopped working. I was like, all right. And I like waited a couple months and it was like soaking wet on the inside. So it's been a process, but I've like restored the interior by essentially detailing it over and over again and cleaning it with extreme measures. So the truck's looking good, smelling good, driving good. So the Burb's back on the road. Now I got to fix my trailer, so I'm pricing that out. So check 1 is almost done. I still need to get a state inspection. So hopefully that freaking check engine light doesn't come back on. I have a couple more days for my temporary inspection, or my temporary, it allows you to drive while you get the car ready to get it inspected. So I just need a couple days. Hopefully I can get it done. That's why I might go up to this card shop to play Yu-Gi-Oh tomorrow, just so I can give myself an excuse to drive 50 miles. But once I get the inspection done, there's 3 boxes: truck, trailer, and then boat. So it was a pretty big step. Step number 1 was pretty big financially. Work-wise, getting the truck working and all that. It took me a while to get it set up again. But so we're almost there. I'm so excited. I would love just to be able to at least once this year take my boat out and go fishing out in the ocean. So we'll see. It'd be really nice to have my boat ready to go in the springtime. And if I want to, I can go scratch raking, or we can go fishing for weak fish. Finally catch a damn weak fish on the fly. You know what I mean? It's going to be monumental. So luckily I got a nice little bounce. I've been getting that going, but so I missed a couple days of streaming this week, but we'll try and make up for it. But man, I'm excited. That being said, I do have a lot of fly tying to do, and what do you call it? We're gonna be doing some Albie flies tonight, tying some Albie flies. This isn't for an order. This is just for myself, as well as maybe a replacement for the Friday Fly giveaway stuff that never got shipped, for all I know. I don't have an idea. So we're going to tie some Mickelsons to start, because these are one of my favorite Albie flies, as well as surf candies and all that. I'm going to look for some crystal flash. I got some flash boo to wrap around to lock it down. We're going to use crystal flash for the tail, and you can see I got some bucktail on there on this big game hook. Yeah, it's been good. The truck's working good, so that's a pretty big thing. Happy I got that almost figured out. I just gotta get it inspected. Hopefully I don't have a check engine light issue, and I gotta start chasing down evap codes, but we'll see. Luckily, it's not the most complicated emission system in the world, so it might just be like a charcoal filter or evap actuator, but it was a generic code, so I'm thinking there's like spider webs and crap. If you didn't know this, if you ever had issue putting gas in your car, so you're at the pump, you're putting the nozzle in, you go to pump it and it fills for a little bit and you can hear it. It sounds like it's coming up, and then it shuts because here in the US at least, the gas pumps the nozzles. When gas hits it, like your tank's full, it automatically clicks it off even if you're holding it. So you don't have gas flying out of your car like it used to happen. And what happens is there's spider webs. Spiders build spider web, clusters essentially in your gas tank nozzle. And then the gas hits that and can't pour quick enough, so it hits the spider webs and then floods up. So that's a common evap code. I'm really hoping it's just some crap like that that's going to get worked out. Because generally a generic evap code like that is like, you know, it would have multiple codes for specific things, like a certain, uh, I don't think it's called actuator. I'm trying to remember. I haven't been a mechanic for a while, but the evap, it's like a little, I think it's an actuator is the correct term. Essentially a little switch that turns on and off and opens and closes this inlet for a charcoal filter and stuff like that. There's usually little filters in line. It's all like vacuum tubes, these hard plastic vacuum tubes, soft vacuum lines. So could be a broken vacuum line. I have no idea. I gotta try and figure it out. So I'm really hoping it's a spider web because God, that would make things a lot easier on my life. Zoom this in a little bit. But we need a truck to tow that gigantic boat, so a little bit bigger than the old 13-foot Predator or 11-foot Predator kayak. I forget. I think that's a Predator 13. That's 13 foot. That's crazy to think that kayak is 8 foot shorter than my boat. My boat's a 21-foot Steiger. That's crazy. It's a big kayak. All right. Do I have some body braid? I should. I end up putting this body braid back. No, it's right there. Okay, perfect. Body braid's the sort of material that I just leave on my desk at all times because I use it so often. Bill's body braid, to be exact. So first things first, we need to tie a piece of flash boot in here because this is what we're going to use to tie down our blonde wing, I'll call it. And that's a reference to the Joe Brooks blonde fly. It's essentially what this is. I think Mickelson, Glenn Mickelson, that is, great fly tire here on Long Island, must have tied like a blonde and then just wrapped flash boot around it to lock it down. Add like a ribbing to it. That's my hypothesis. I maybe need to ask him one day, but he's not a very talkative person if you've ever met him before. So I actually don't think I've ever talked to him once in all my days. I used to spend every day out there fishing on the inlet too. And it's a place that you see him all the time. But I'm a very, unless it's like certain people that are talkative, I'll just sit there and by myself too as well and kind of just fish and focus. So I've sat next to him and fished all day, but I don't even know if I've ever had a conversation with him. All right. You know, when there's people that, you know, that kind of give off that energy that are kind of like, you know, I'm not really a talkative person. You just let them be, you know? Let them cook. Just watch them catch some Albies. The master. Because I can go over there and fangirl like crazy. But I've just never, like, I said, hey, what's up? Like, I think that's the extent of our conversations after fishing next to him for like years. That's just funny to think about. So anyways, I gotta ask him one day. The first thing he'll ever hear from me. I wonder if he took a blonde, had some flash boot hanging off the back, took one of them that was extra long and just wrapped it. That's my guess. Because if you know anything about the blonde fly, it's essentially what we just tied if you don't wrap this down. It's bucktail off the back, a little bit of tinsel or flash, some body braid or tinsel to wrap on there, and then you just tie a bucktail wing and just have it free floating off the top. Kind of like a deceiver, but nothing on the bottom. That's the old school Joe Brooks blonde fly from like the 50s or 40s or something. Old school saltwater pattern. So I think Mickelson took a piece of flash boot that was extra long and just wrapped it back. Because that's the only difference between separating these two is that, and then coating it in UV resin. But maybe it's more complicated. He didn't even think about that like that. And I just put that two and two together, but I have a hunch. It would make sense, right? But you never know. He could have just came up with it. Truly never know. The mind of Glenn Mickelson. All right. Let's go ahead and put some eyes on here. Let's see, we got these eyes from saltwaterflies.com. That's something about, I don't know what brand Chris uses over at saltwaterflies.com, but they just work so good. I've had issues with a lot of different stick-on eyes where, they smudge the pupil off if you rub it too hard, when you're putting it on there or something, or where the eyes lift off with the resin. That's why you see me do a little super glue as like just habit. But these eyes are really nice, very durable and very nice eyes. Even if I have super glue on my fingers, I generally don't damage the pupil on this because I almost always get super glue on my fingers when I'm doing this. Your fingers will stick to the 3D eye and then damage it a lot of times. Definitely look better than the regular candies. Yeah, they have a little, I don't know, they have a little something to it. I don't know, see, it's hard to say because if I show you Bob Popovic's candies on the back of his book, man, it's hard. I will say, though, all the serious people that Albie fish in my local area, now mind you, Glenn Mickelson is a local fly tyer, so it makes sense that people like his flies, but almost all the serious Albie guys tie or fish Mickelson candies. So that says something, right? I, on the other hand, gravitated a lot towards bucktail surf candies. That was my go-to, and it still is. I do like Mickelsons, though. I think they're a great fly to have because they're a little bit slimmer, they're thinner, they're a little bit lighter. They're in weight and stuff like that, compared to like the way at least I tie my surf candies with that nice profile with the resin and the durability with a couple coats and the weight too. One thing we've figured out over the years is with at least the way I tie my surf candies, where they're semi-tall top and bottom, but they have resin on the sides that rounds it out. If you watch the candy in the water, especially with the lateral scale, as your two hands stripping it with a loop knot, I don't know, this is what just happens, especially in the current. It literally does this as you're stripping it. It's like, as each hand strips, it kind of turns a little bit like that. I don't know if that's just in general or it's exaggerated because of the amount of resin. It's not like an astronomical amount, but it's enough to where it affects the actual way the fly swims, right? So that's literally one thing I've noticed with the surf candies, the way that I tie them, because a lot of people put less resin on there and do it a little bit slimmer. I kind of go a little bit more like, just from holding like literally thousands of silver sides in my hands over the years, like packing bait and catching silver sides commercially and this and that, like holding them and checking them out, or they have a certain profile to them, right? Bay anchovies are a little bit slimmer for sure. Bay anchovies don't have the same, because I'm talking about like a larger silver side, right? They have like mass to them. But it's crazy. That surf candy, when you tie it, it's literally wiggling. So we are going to tie some surf candies too later. You're going to definitely use more resin just because the fly is larger. There's more material we're covering, and we're rounding out that profile. But oh man, I'm excited for the Albie highlight's going to be even better today. The closer we get to Albie season, the more excited I am for Albie season. I got to make sure I have a proper setup though. Like a proper 9-weight or 10-weight reel setup. So right now my drag is like semi-working on and off. And I don't have to worry about palming with my, or using my palm to stop the the reel. Especially if I have my boat and I'm like drifting through the inlet and people are like flying up trying to catch albies and I'm trying not to hit them. I'm going to get my knuckles broken. Yeah, I think what's going to happen is we're going to be clamming, and then eventually we're going to switch over and go green crabbing. We're going to go catch invasive green crabs for tautog fishers, black fishermen, which is like the big fall time fishing out here with bait is blackfish. Call them tautog or blackfish. Very, very good white fish. Like the meat, is white. Very, very tasty fish. People like catching them. You fish with live green crabs, which are crabs that hide around rocks and stuff like that, you know? So they have to come out and climb around rocks every once in a while, and that's when the blackfish come out and chomp on them. So generally on the North Shore of Long Island, where it's very rocky, and out in the ocean and stuff like that, where there's structure, you get blackfish. So up on the North Shore in the Sound, there's a lot of people that blackfish. You can actually, I mean, I'm semi-tempted. I have my kayak. I got my truck. We might take the kayak and go up to the North Shore and go fish up on the North Shore for Albies out by Orient. Because if you take a kayak out there, I mean, it's a little dangerous. You got to be careful because it gets kind of hairy out there. But there's a boat ramp. I can park, launch, go out there with the kayak, and you can do some serious damage to the Albies out there. Because it's the sort of thing where literally all day the Albies are coming back and forth. And a lot of times they're just out of reach, even of spin fishermen, but especially fly fishermen. So if you can stay out, it's like a giant bowl, this area on the beach on the North Shore. Some of you may know what I'm talking about, but you can stay out there. And then not only that, you can go up and around and go out and go all over the place. But you do need to be careful up there because it gets pretty hairy in some of those areas, like Rocky Point. There's literally just like giant boulders, and all the water on the northern side of Long Island is just ripping around this coastline. So I have a video on YouTube of us out there on the pontoon boat with my buddy Tyler. And we're going through, like, it doesn't look hairy at all, but in the wall, like, because GoPro is very forgiving when it comes to, you know, making things look not menacing. But we were out there. We thought we were going to die a couple times. It was totally worth it, though. We had some awesome albie fishing off that pontoon boat, man. Like, is that a pontoon? It's not a pontoon. It was like a river drift boat. But I just called it a pontoon boat because it was an inflatable, like, raft with a small outboard on the back that we were taking all over the place. So good. So I'm just leveling out this resin. Yeah, there's a couple of videos. I think the first albie video I have on my YouTube channel is with my buddy Tyler. That day, randomly met this dude. Just some guy, and I see him like putting together an inflatable raft, and he's got fly rods, and I'm like, "Are you going albie fishing in that thing?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Isn't that dangerous?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Can I come?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna park." I was like, "This is my sort of dude right here." The only thing that we didn't he just didn't smoke weed. Other than that, it was like everything was perfect. So that's even better. You know what I mean? It was more bud for me. But it's legal in New York State, by the way. Not that I would ever consume marijuana. I don't know what YouTube's policy is, so. Anyways, that was a lot of fun. That was the first day I ever caught an albie. I was so excited. After years of trying to catch them from shore, I just couldn't do it. I had the worst luck. So I just needed Tyler to roll into my life, my savior, with his pontoon boat. That was the safest trip we did. No, there were safer ones. But those North Shore trips, they were a little hairy. Hope he's doing well. I haven't heard from him for a while because I got a new phone and stuff, and he like went down to Mexico to go permit fishing right as COVID broke out. So I was like, did he get stuck down there? Who the hell knows what's going on? But that guy can pretty much handle anything, so I'm sure he's all right. He's probably, I think he was going to work on tugboats up in Alaska or like Portland or something. I have no idea. Or Seattle or Washington. I have no idea. So hopefully he's doing good. Shout out to Tyler Fay, my buddy. He's got balls, definitely. I mean, you see a guy putting together an inflatable raft next to an inlet during the fall fishing season. During peak albie season, you say, yes, I'm going on the raft. Well, actually, maybe don't, but you might want to. Make sure you wear a life vest, otherwise the Coast Guard will get you, but Not to save your life, because you might get a ticket, but I think we did wear life vests. He was like, I think we got to wear these. I was like, all right, it's your boat. I get it. You don't want me to fall off and drown. Totally okay with that, I guess. So that's 2 coats of medium and 1 coat of thin. You can see we got a little dip or a divot right in the bottom. If I really want, I could be anal about it and try and level this out a little bit. I don't think I really need to be, but if we wanted to, we could. But you could see why that flash boo on there wrapped looks so good. It just adds a whole nother, I don't know, eye-catching effect to the fly for the fish. This is how I like tying them. I like tying them with crystal flash and obviously using the flash boo to wrap around. I mean, I suppose you could do reverse. You could use other pieces of flash to secure it or other pieces of flash for the tail. I mean, you can always feel free to mix and match. You could probably tie these with synthetics. I don't think I've ever tied a synthetic Mickelson. That we should probably do because it would just be cool. So let's try that. Yeah, I don't think I've ever tied a synthetic Mickelson. Because I guess why would you? You would kind of... Bucktail's always kind of superior just in general. This is the belief of a lot of saltwater fly fishers. But let's try a synthetic one. That could be pretty interesting, believe it or not. Oh god, Pokemon Go ads. Dude, when Pokemon Go came out, me and my buddies, I was like fresh out of a relationship, long-term relationship. Me and my buddies, we were just going to this awesome place in Long Island, Port Jeff, where it's like this harbor, and there's tons of stores and restaurants and stuff. There's a boardwalk, there's a park. We were playing Pokemon Go, drinking wine and vodka and cranberries, because you go on this boardwalk, get the alcohol, drink it before you get off the boardwalk, do a loop around Port Jeff, catching Charizards or, not Charizard, not Charmeleon, Charmanders, and like Squirtles and stuff, right? And then you would go back and you drink another sangria or something. Finish that before you get off the boardwalk, so that's like 30 seconds. You just chug it, right? While you're catching some like Pidgeots or something. Yeah. It was honestly a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playing Pokemon Go. We were like driving around doing gym battles and stuff and like meeting people in our colors and being like, yo, let's go. And like had like a convoy. It was a good time. Wasn't bad. I honestly say that whoever put together Pokemon Go, that was 100% a hit. It was like a worldwide phenomenon. They did a good job with that. Pulp Crawl Pokemon style. Oh, dude. We were just drinking and play Pokemon Go for like 8 hours. And we'd have somebody who was the designated driver drive back. It was a good time. It was just an excuse to go out to like a cool area in public and drink and like walk around. Because normally we're not the type of people to do that, right? Like me and my buddy and some of my friends from my friend group. We're not like very like, yo, let's go out to a club. Let's go get crazy. We don't do that. You know what I mean? We play like Warhammer and Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. So it was a good excuse to go out and socialize in a group. Don't get me wrong. I go to a bar and stuff like that with certain people, but it's been a while. But me and my friends were like, yeah, let's play some Warhammer. How about that? That sounds like a better time. Speaking of which, what might do tomorrow? I don't want to go play Yu-Gi-Oh, but I still need some cards, and I literally don't remember anything about the entire game. And this is like serious playing. So I should probably spend like a week just refreshing myself before I drive all the way out there and get pub stomped the whole time. All right, we're going to go with synthetics. I got some white. And what other color? Let's go with olive. Let's do an olive and white. Classic. So I've never done this. This is going to be a synthetic Mickelson fly. Which, by the way, I hope everyone's having a great Friday. I hope everyone's doing well. And you're having a great night and everything. Hope you had a good week. Has anyone been doing any fishing, any fly tying, anything interesting? Maybe bought a Corvette. You got arrested over the weekend doing like 130. Now it's impounded. That'd be an unfortunate story, but sounds like he had good fun while it lasted. Yeah, they would definitely impound your Corvette at 130. Maybe not New York, like in like certain areas, but I feel like out here they 100% would. This is like not the hustle and bustle of the city. This is more like suburban New York. I want to say the city, but no, they would just impound you, right? In the city. You got to be like the right spot. And you have to have a PBA card. For anyone that doesn't know, PBA cards are the Police Bureau. Oh, no, what's it? Police Benefactor Association? God, I always forget what the B stands for. Somebody remembers right in the chat. But essentially, if you have like a buddy that's a cop, they give you a card. And if they're like a DT or something, they're like, listen, I don't know if it's going to get you out of trouble, but you got to, let's say you got a speeding ticket, you hand this to the guy, and it's kind of like a little get out. It's literally like a get out of free jail card, except they could just say, like, I don't give a shit about this. But it's a pretty interesting concept to actually think about it. But, yeah, it's pretty interesting. People are like, you're like, I don't think you should be driving. Do you drive? Oh, I'm good. I got a PBA card. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. Yep. Good luck with that. It's for like, you know, you got a headlight out. Unless you know like the commissioner or something maybe, but yeah, I remember when I first found out about that. I was like, dude, that's crazy. You know, it'd be wild. Imagine they sold it and you could get like you could literally buy like a get out of free jail card. Oh my god. I wonder if that'll happen in the future. Probably not, but you never know. They just monetize the police force. Like, god damn, it's costing us so much money. See, I'm just every once in a while I like to think about like what the sort of dystopian future we're going to be living in the near future in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. Like people walking around with like what do you call it? Neuralinks, and they're like watching TikToks walking into street lamp posts or something. It's going to be wild, that's for sure. It's going to be really crazy. It definitely is pretty interesting. I don't know. I'm definitely like rambling today. We're just tying Mickelsons. You get the idea, right? We're tying our synthetics on, putting our flash, got our lawn flash boo, wrapping our body braid, tying our material in front, wrapping our flash boo forward, putting our eyes and gluing it. Rinse and repeat. I'll mention things when they're important, but it's pretty crazy to think that we're literally living in like the most advanced age, and every day it gets more and more. Like, just think 10 years ago, or like 15 years ago, computers that we had or something. It's just wild. Just crazy. I have no idea. I think about this a lot. I'm like, damn, dude, what? It's going to be wild when I'm like 70, 60 years old. It's going to be nuts. I don't think we're going to have flying cars. I think just society is going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. I don't want to get too nuts, but just in terms of like, you know, like cell phones and stuff, like, it's going to be nuts. Like, are we going to have brain chips? I don't know about the hover cars. I don't think we're going to have hover cars for a bit. I don't think they're going to give people flying cars unless they're automated. If you give people the ability to not control it, they might do it. And then it's just going to be, for the first 10 years, it's going to be complete, utter chaos, just like things crashing into each other. You know? The Canklon is almost like Supreme hair. Nice stuff, swims well too. Yeah, I think it's very similar, right? Very similar material. Yo, Sonny, what's going on, man? Oh, you finishing up some synthetic candies for the shop. Well, at least you've seen me tie 5 million by now, so you should be a master. Less than a UV and 10 more to tie. A small order for 50. Nice. Hell yeah. I like when you say small order for 50. My man. Putting in some work. I like it. All right. We're going to go with a little olive. I'm going a little bit sparser on this one. Going a little sparser. Yeah, the real I'm gonna stop ranting here in a little bit, but the real future is gonna be just AI taking over, and not like Terminator style, just like nonsense bots all over the internet. Already like YouTube. How YouTube is just full of just bots that comment like generic comments. Oh wow, thank you so much for sharing this. This has changed my life, and it's a profile pic of some girl's butt and like a thong or something. Like borderline of breaking the community guidelines with the profile pic. It's just bots everywhere. At some point, it's just going to be the dead internet theory is just going to fulfill itself. Where it's just like 99.9% of things on the internet, it's just all AI and bot stuff that somehow interacts with itself. All interacts with each other, like just for nonsense. Just like bot comments, commenting on bot YouTube videos of bot posts and things. It's like, what? And you'll be like, hello? You go into a Twitch chat room and the Twitch streamers like an AI and all the Twitch chats AI and it's just like generic comments everywhere. And you're like, hello? They're like, hello, Michelle Johnson 0205. How are you doing? It's gonna be wild. Anyways, it's my rant. We'll get back around to that one in a little bit. They can make quadcopter type vehicles people can control and fly like big drones. They're allowed. Yeah, I I like your idea. Instead of like giving people flying cars, right? You can just make like a hyper drone with 4 giant drones that are like, and yes, they're extremely loud. If you've ever had a drone fly anywhere remotely close to you, above you, like larger drones, they're extremely loud. You can hear them from quite a ways away. At least on a non-windy day in particular. We had one fly over us today looking at us while we were clamming. Could have been the DEC, could have been Marine Patrol. They can't use them to convict, but they can just look. So I always wave and like smile and like dance for the drones. It could just be some dude, but they're like going around and hovering. So I always like to like like make a little joke out of it. Very well could have been DEC for all we know. Who knows? We're not doing anything wrong. We don't give a shit. So you're saying give people 4 massive like quad drone, and then like have handles. I think I know what you're talking about with like the jetpack, proto jetpack thing, and they're like flying around. I mean, dude, that's wild. That's more wild than giving people cars that are flying. Because I'm just picturing like, imagine your mom's like, all right, I'm gonna go to Shop and Shop. I'm gonna go take the quadcopter, and she's like putting her glasses on, like the helmet, like World War II airsman helmet or something, just takes off and like flies into a tree or something. But they could be pretty loud, so yeah. Oh my god, I'm trying to picture if you actually gave people stuff like that, how crazy that would be. You just have some dude fly through your window at like Mach 2 speed. That'd be wild. I don't know if we'll ever have something like that. I kind of like Futurama's idea where you just go in a tube. You know what I mean? I wonder how we'll expedite travel in the future. How will we make travel? It'll just be like maybe like hyperspeed like railways or flying cars, right? Something like that. It's got to be one or the other like that. I don't think the quadcopter thing's going to work. Dude, that would be... I like that idea, though. That really made me chuckle. That would, like, the idea of just, like, some dude getting off work, some accountant, like, taking one of those things and flying off, and trying to ride that thing home after a long day of work. Oh, man. I think I have a woodpecker. You hear that? Well, you can't hear it because I got my noise suppression. There's, like, a woodpecker right on the other side of my wall right now. Hopefully he's not finding any bugs in my siding. I was like, who the hell is tapping on my wall on the second story? Oh yeah, it's probably a woodpecker. We got a lot of the larger North American woodpeckers up here, as well as the little guys. little guys. Hey, Cracker Roll, what's going on, man? Hope you're doing good. I think you had a Friday Flight giveaway package coming to you, right? Did you get it yet? I think I gotta resend them, dude. I put them out July 3rd in my mailbox. The day before 4th of July, I did it. It was like Jin, you, Master of Battle, AR, and like one other person. I gotta go to the post office for Banana because he's in Canada. It should have gotten to you by now. So I'm almost certain either maybe I was supposed to put 2 stamps and I didn't, or something happened. I have no idea. Because of 4th of July or something. I don't know. It was the EP bait fish, as well as some bulkheads, like really nice looking flies. Just landed in Philly instead of Albany, but I got an envelope of flies. Did you? And you're talking about, is it kinky muddlers? It should be like a kinky muddler, maybe a bulkhead, or 2 kinky muddlers. Is that what that was? This isn't the stuff from months ago, from when you were overseas. You got it? Oh my God, thank God. I was like, because normally some of you folks post, you got them. Oh, thank God. Okay, I was stressing out, dude, the whole time. I was stressing out. Because normally somebody posts in the Discord like, hey, thanks, got it, Mike. And I was like, damn, dude, it's been like 2 weeks, but I haven't been streaming as much. Whoo! I was like, I got to retie. Like, we got to tie like 2 more dozen flies to ship out for everybody. Fuck. Okay, good. Yeah, it is one post's stamp. So you can put 2 or 3 flies in tiny little plastic envelope, the plastic sleeves, in an envelope, put it in your mailbox with 1 stamp, and it'll go across the country, which is pretty sick. If they're a little heavy though, I think you gotta go 2 stamps. But all right, whoosh. I didn't know if it was 2 or 1. I was freaking out. I was like, please don't tell me I just lost like all those flies. You went to the Rhode Island Fly Bash, then immediately to San Diego, and now I'm heading to North Sea. Oh, wow, Mr. Busy Man. Mr. Busy Man. Very cool, very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for letting me know that, Craig Girl. You've just taken a lot of stress off me, because I was thinking about it all day. Like, every day I've been like, dude, what is... I was waiting, though. I didn't want to rush it. Because sometimes, especially around holidays, it takes like a while. But I was like, this is an envelope. It should have came here by now. So, very cool. Thank you. Danke. Which is German for thank you. You didn't know that? 30 hours of travel? Oh my God, because of cancellations? I do not envy you. It's one of my least favorite things is traveling. I'm going to be honest with you. I could probably just hang out on Long Island for the rest of my life and take a couple trips here and there, every couple of years, like a short week-long trip, nothing too crazy. I'd be like totally happy. Like we got pretty much everything we need out here. It is cool when you're taking a really cool trip, right? Let's say we're going to Aruba, Turkey, France or something, or even some exciting fishing trip, or taking a road trip down to Florida from New York to go fishing, but I'm just not really a big fan of traveling. Even if I had to travel 2 hours to work, like drive to the city every day, I couldn't do that. I hate sitting in a car for hours and hours. I'm sure probably not many people do, so... So I envy you, because I would probably be like brain dead. It's the flying, dude. Flying takes it out of me. Like, my ears get all messed up, Chewing gum used to work. Now it doesn't work anymore. I used to be a kid. My mom would like give me gum. I would chew gum and my ears would pop or whatever. Now my ears get really screwed up. It's just... You end up getting uncomfortable, but I can sit through a 13, 14-hour flight, no problem going to Turkey. I've done it many times, like 10 times. But part of the reason why I'm like, maybe I won't spend like $4,000 on a trip overseas. I think I'm good. It just adds to maybe I should save some money. I know you're traveling probably for work and stuff, but I don't travel for work, so if I'm traveling, it's for pleasure, if that's the case. When was the last international? I think I went to Aruba with an ex. Because apparently Aruba is like the place where all Long Islanders go on vacation during the winter. I didn't know this. That or Florida, of course. But you're hyped for North Carolina, even though you're exhausted. I've spent a lot of time in North Carolina. I had an ex that her family lived in Raleigh. She lived in Raleigh, so I spent time in Raleigh, North Carolina. Cary, essentially Cary, North Carolina, right near Raleigh. I spent time in Wilmington. Was gonna move to Wilmington, North Carolina, right on the water, which is kind of near. Oh, there's a couple of different places, but you know Wilmington is right on the coast there. Which if you can check out, I highly recommend checking out that area of North Carolina. It is so cool. I don't know if you will be able to, but I think it's like a 3-hour drive, I want to say, from Raleigh to Wilmington. Maybe it was 5-hour, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Inland North Carolina, not my thing. Okay. Also, I don't want to buy my liquor from a government store. Like, why do I gotta buy my liquor from a government building? Like ABCs. That's literally what they're called. Doc, I had no idea this was a thing. But like, we go down and we're seeing ABC liquor stores, and we're like, are these like a chain of liquor stores? And then we found out they're like government, because we're Yankees. We're from up north. We have no idea about stuff like this, right? They're government-run liquor stores. The only place you can buy liquor is from a state agency, like building. We're like, what? They're like state-operated liquor stores. We're like, dude, this is wild. This is wild down here. It was different. It was just like a whole different, having never been down south and stuff. I did like North Carolina. North Carolina was cool. It's just like there wasn't much to do inland. You know what I mean? I kind of liked North Carolina. It was actually pretty cool. The people, all the people, the nicest people in the world. You go to North Carolina, everybody's just like a sweetheart. It's like Southern, what do you call it? Hospitality is 100% a real thing after spending all my time in New York and up north. It really is a real thing. So North Carolina is nice. I like it. A lot of people from New York move there. A lot of people my age move there because it's so goddamn expensive to live in a lot of other coastal states nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, good luck trying to afford to live alone out here at my age. You got to be making like $120K a year or something. Otherwise, you're paying. It's like $3-4 grand a month for an apartment. It's not even a mortgage. It's crazy. The renting is actually more expensive than buying a house. The problem is getting all the money up front to like put it down and stuff, right? And having getting a mortgage. Because you're actually almost better off buying a house out here. But the house market is so completely screwed up out here. It's just wild. I know it is everywhere, but in the U.S., it's crazy. It's all just like real estate companies buying the houses and rebuilding it, and then people renting to like multiple families. So there's no actual like houses for sale for lower middle income families, or people. It's just screwed. It's all like big ass condos and stuff being built. So, anyways, yay, Long Island. That being said, I do love living here. So it is much cheaper. I mean, it's probably more now. I think it was like, what was it? I think it was like $1,200, maybe $2,000 for like really nice apartments in North Carolina, something like that. You know. Like a house here for $600K, you could probably get down there for like $200,000. Maybe it's worse now because I know so many people are moving down there. But there's a lot of people from up north moving down south now. That have been for years, but yeah. Well, that's the thing though. It's property and it's a house, Cracker Roll. So if you have property and a house on it, let alone just property. That's all that matters. They'll buy it, they'll knock it down, they'll build it, they'll renovate it. They don't care. It's just potential to make money. Essentially, is what it is in the real estate market. Whether it's a company or whether it's private home flippers, this that. I mean, dude, the housing market's crazy. The Wilmington prices are absurd. Yeah, I mean, we were looking at prices on houses in Wilmington back then, and it wasn't even that bad. This was like 10 years ago, though. I'm sure by now it's like skyrocketed because we literally went and looked at apartments in Wilmington. I was like looking at car dealerships to work at. You know what I mean? I was gonna move there with an ex-girlfriend. Thank God I didn't. Not because, anything against her. She's a lovely person, but because it's never a good idea to move somewhere for a girl when you're young in life. You know what I mean? Let alone somewhere that's like the fishing's different, the work, the attitude, everything. You know what I mean? Single wides, 400K. You're talking about trailers, right? Single wide trailers. Like they're like, it's like a house, but it's technically you can pick it up, move it and stuff. 400K. Well, I guess the housing market changed since I last looked at it down there. Not that I was in any place to do anything about it, but yikes. Good luck. I ain't buying a house, tell you that much. Now you could be an oyster farmer. True. I'm gonna say though, I'll tell you one thing. The heat in North Carolina. Can't do it. I'm cold-blooded. We went down there, inland, even on the beach in Wilmington. Like, there's automotive shop. I was thinking about moving down there. I was a B-Tech at the time, so we're talking about suspension, alignments, brake jobs, banging out brake jobs. Bang, bang, bang. You got a Honda? Brake job. If you need it, that is. I wasn't an asshole mechanic. But they're like, oh, we got a Honda brake job. I'm like, send it my way, baby. I'll bang it 30 minutes. Done. You know what I mean? Excuse me. That being said, went to North Carolina, driving around, looking at shops. Just like driving around, you know what I mean? Seeing dudes working outside. Like, you got a job where you got to, like, plug a tire. So customer pulls up outside. You jack it up, pop the wheel off, you're checking for the wheel. And, dude, it was like 110 degrees outside or something. And I was, like, sitting there looking at this dude doing, like, a brake job outside because they probably didn't have enough lifts or something. And I can only imagine, you know what I mean? I don't know what the standards are of, like, certain automotive shops in, like, small town North Carolina. But I was like, dude, I ain't doing this. And I'm pretty sure they were getting, like, $8 an hour. Or, like, $10 an hour, like, B-Tech prices. I could be wrong. It's probably better at dealers. But I was never a fan of working at dealerships. But I was like, dude, there's no way I'm becoming a mechanic in North Carolina. I'm going to die out here. It's crazy. And I would have taken a massive pay cut too, but it's all relative, right? The price of living is far cheaper down there. I mean, a lot of people I know from my school moved down to North Carolina, particularly Cary. I don't know what I found this out later on, from dating this girl, but like Cary, North Carolina, I think they called it like a relocation something for Yankees or something. It's all like New Yorkers. I don't know. It's like just a bunch of people moving down there because it was cheaper. And it's funny because people move there because it's cheaper. So they move from a state like New York, right? Same thing from like San Francisco to to Texas, like Joe Rogan and people like that. But then the prices go up in those areas because it booms. And then it essentially, given enough time, it'll become where they moved from eventually. So it's pretty crazy. Like Raleigh, North Carolina is just going to be like Long Island one day. You know what I mean? That's all it is. But it's pretty wild, man. Economics. Huh, chat? What do you think about economics? Put it in the chat. And we're going to have a pop quiz later on bonds. Oh, God. Yeah, that's brutal. My buddy was a landscaper, too. I don't know how he was doing it. Mind you, now I work on a boat. And it's pretty rough. I'm getting cooked in the sun all day, but I'm lucky I can like pour buckets of water all over the place. So I'm like constantly getting wet. So at least I got that going on, right? I got a nice little breeze on a nice day, that is. So we got a synthetic Mickelson. It kind of looks like a surf candy, right? It kind of just ends up looking like a surf candy. But you do have that cool rib on there. Catch the eyes of the Albie. But yeah, right? So that's interesting. It kind of just looks like a surf candy. Now, if I take bucktail and I tie surf candy, then I take bucktail and I wrap Flash Boo and do a Mickelson, it doesn't look like a surf candy. But I think it's just kind of like the profile has Mickelson-esque profile, but it's just when you see the resin on the Supreme fiber, it just kind of ends up looking like a surf candy. But still pretty cool fly nonetheless. In the water, that's when the flash really starts going nuts, right? It starts looking sick. So, you can't complain about that. Raleigh, the new LI, actually true. I'm not saying that. I'm not just making that up. I dated a girl that her whole family was from New York and lived down there. And it's like, oh yeah, this guy that works at the car dealership, he's from Long Island. He's from Long Island. He's from Long Island. She's from Long Island. She's from I'm like, what? People from my school moving down to Raleigh, North. I'm like, what is going on? Is there like some sort of hidden incentive program I don't know about for Long Islanders? And then if you ever go to Aruba, I'll say it again. You ever go to Aruba, you go up to anybody on the beach there and you ask them, you from Long Island? 90% of the people are from Long Island. Guarantee you. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know why. All Long Islanders in Aruba. That or Venezuelans, I think. I think it was Venezuelans, I want to say. Is Venezuela the closest place to Aruba? I think there's one country in South America that a lot of people from that country go to Aruba as tourists. Aruba was a beautiful place. Very cool. Tiny, tiny, tiny country. Tiny. So tiny, it was crazy. Like, you could fly a drone above this bitch, and you could see it from one end from the other, like nothing. So weird. But a beautiful place. Very highly, touristized is what something to call it. But it's a cool place. Long Island isn't cheap, though? Yep, that's true. Oh, I'm from Long Island. I smack talk Long Island all the time. What do you think? People from Long Island are like, whoa, 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 you talking about Long Island? Yeah, you should talk on Long Island. No, they're like, this piece of shit, Governor Pataki or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about Long Island, bro. Like, hold on, I'm peeking the mic. I gotta turn this down. We're talking about Long Island. My favorite was the Dave Chappelle, because when Dave Chappelle had his skit, it was in New York, right? And it's like, was it? I think was it he talking shit about Pataki? It was the one thing where it was like, man, Reagan fucked up, and then it cuts to them, and they like at some point you couldn't smoke in bars anymore in New York, and I want to say it was Pataki. Was it Pataki? And he says, man, Pataki fucked up. And it's like wintertime and they're trying to smoke cigarettes or something. I'm trying to remember, though. I don't know. I was young. I don't even remember when Pataki was governor of New York. That's a little New York governor joke for you, all you folks out there. All right. We're going to be streaming for a little while tonight. All right. We're going to be tying flies probably for another couple hours. That being said, I'm taking a hookah lounge break and grabbing another White Claw. So I'll be back in just a moment. Don't go nowhere. We'll be making more jokes about New York governors. Dave Chappelle style jokes here shortly. Yep. Stay tight, alright? Yep, keep it tight. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Aiden. Knuckle buster. Are you good? Do you need me to do anything?
Yeah, I might need a ride. Yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna turn now.
I'm gonna try and get on the bow.
Yeah, get on the bow. Alright, you're doing good. Keep doing your thing. I'm gonna move us away.
Is that a little one?
No, that's a nice one.
Oh, let's go!
Come here, hold next to Allie. Good job.
That's sick.
Alright. Nice.
Let's go! Albie slap!
Good job, dude.
Yee!
Looking down the barrel of a 12 gauge little tuny, bro. On the Albacore too. Oh my god, dude! What the fuck? Woohoo! Oh my god. Yep. Oh my god! I gotta turn the boat so I can cast. Oh my god, dude! Alright, get back to catching him, Diego. Frigates.
Albie?
Frigates.
Frigate.
Whoa! Whoa! That's gotta be bluefin or something. Look at. Hell yeah, dude. To grab a fish like that, to grab a fly like that, a big deceiver. Albies in the rain on the half beaks, baby. Greenbacks. And until next time, guys, we'll see you. And as always, slam it. All right, we are back. Yes. Okay. Now, is this like an anime reference or something? Kitty Nozomi? Did I say that right? Which is a friend of ours. Mine and Rev's, if you know my buddy Rev. We're actually going to teach Kitty how to play Warhammer. Nozomi? Okay, good. Nozomi. So, what I do, Kitty, is take fishing hooks and I put material, whether it be natural, like a deer tail, or synthetic material, which is basically almost hair extensions. To put it in reference for you, and then I tie this stuff to the hook, and then people buy this stuff and they go fishing. There's a certain type of fishing called fly fishing, not like regular fishing where your line has the weight and the hook is pretty much weightless. Instead of a regular hook has weight on it, this pretty much doesn't have any weight. Fancy fishing hooks. That is the appropriate terminology for it. Yes. And I am going to get some. I got to get my music set up. My bad. I grabbed another White Claw while I was down there. So we're going to keep tying some fall-time flies. So. We just tied some Mickelsons. Maybe we tie some surf candies now. Because we tied synthetic and a natural version. I got to swap my headphones. I have like 2 different headphone cables here. It's disaster, but we're making it work due to my overly complicated audio setup. Just start off a little Mac Miller, put it on a mix on YouTube, just let her run, let her rip. Okay, so let's take a hook here. A theater reference? Yes. Well, we got to have a hookah lounge break, as you know. I like those. But, yeah, a little reference. Now, mind you, it's the same video I've been playing for years, but it's my favorite fishing highlight I've ever made because those false albacore are like little tuna-type fish that come in shore, and it's borderline crack. It's like an addiction catching those things, so... All right, surf candies. These are going to be a little bit different than the Mickelsons, but very similar. Let me hit this with the light so I don't get resin all over my hands. Did you end up looking online? I honestly think it's going to be tough to find a Kitty's ABS module on her car stopped working. I think it's going to be tough to find that at a junkyard. Just because of the certain year and model and stuff like that. I feel like if you go on eBay or something or look for a used module, you might be better off. And a lot of those places too, you have to take it out. And like you have to find the car in the junkyard. There's one there's one further west of here. But I know Rev knows a guy that's close, but it's like kind of like I don't know if it's a junkyard you want to get a part for your car from. You know, one of those places. So I would almost I'm looking for I'm going to get a used trim unit for my boat on eBay. It's like my cheapest option probably. I feel like getting a used part because they have junkyards and stuff that sell parts on eBay and stuff like that take cars apart after they get wrecked. Or vice versa. I think that's your best bet. I could help you looking for it, but because I was thinking about it, it's going to be tough finding that at a junkyard. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. We're going to start with some body braid. Now, this is my go-to for fall time fishing on the North Shore, South Shore, wherever. I could be in Rhode Island. I could be in New Jersey, Albie fishing. Pink over white surf candies are my go-to. So, those are my go-to flies. It's kind of what I started out with. This is kind of the start of me tying flies commercially. Posting some bucktail surf candies on Instagram and having some people message me, hey, can I get a dozen of those? Yeah, sure. I'd already done commercial fly tying in the past for some local fly shops, but very minimal, right? It was almost like charity. We're like, yeah, we'll buy some flies from you, kid. Sure. Here's $100. Don't spend it all in one place. You know what I mean? But it says the same. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a weird part. It's gonna be tough, but I think your best bet is online because like I don't think a local junkyard's gonna have the exact thing you need. That's the hard part. But yeah, it all started with I think it was some surf candies, and then it was some Albacores. It was the Albacores, and then I think I just messaged saltwaterflies.com and then started tying for them. Saltwater Edge, got in contact with them, and it's all, you know, tying for the local place as well, and private. I just got an order done recently for somebody up in Rhode Island, a very nice guy. Him and his friend wanted some flies. They said they got some of my flies from Saltwater Edge last year and knocked it out of the park fishing for some Albies. Wanted some more, so I was pretty excited to send over some surf candies. He just got them the other day. I'm so happy that everybody got the flies in the mail from the giveaway. I still have to go to the post office. It was the previous month, so it's Doc and somebody else. I have it written down. I need to ship out, and then Banana is in Canada, so unfortunately I can't throw it in the mailbox if it's going international. I have to go there and fill out a whole form and all this jazz. But all right. By the way, how's the YouTube folks doing? I see the YouTube folks are just hanging out, lurking. I love it. I love to see it. But I hope everyone on the tubers are doing good. How's the tubers doing? So, we're going to just add a teeny bit more white bucktail. I do like making my bucktail surf candies a little bit, I like having a decent profile to them, right? I want enough material on there, not too much to where it's too bulky, but I want enough to where it's going to have some life to it when I'm stripping at Mach speed through the inlet, right? It's funny, actually, over the years I started putting a little less pizzazz in my strips when albie fishing. I used to strip it really fast. And then I found if I just strip it normally at medium speed, and when I say stripping, because in case like somebody here like Kitty or something doesn't know, I mean retrieving the line. A lot of times just a moderate retrieve works very well for false albacore, as opposed to the hyper, sonic speed retrieve. But all right, we're gonna put some flash on here. Go with some crystal flash because usually I use flash boo, but put some crystal flash on there, and then we'll go ahead. Put some pink bucktail on here. Yeah, I was a little disappointed my check engine light came on, man. I'm really hoping that evap code isn't a big deal. I gotta like change out or flush out the whole evap line. Look for leaks. Really tomorrow I'm gonna have to hop on the highway and just drive. I might go out to this game store. I don't know if I'm going to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I might just go out there anyway and look for a couple Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards or some Warhammer stuff. just to give myself an excuse to drive like for an hour and a half because I have to reset my emissions. I think I gotta like clean out the throttle body on my truck too, or I gotta like readjust my throttle cable or something because it does have. I think it's a cable driven throttle, unlike modern cars that have electric throttle bodies. With the TBC's throttle body controls and all that or whatever. And I was looking, the cables like doesn't look tight. I mean, I kind of stepped on it a little bit today, just to help break up any gunk. It's good every once in a while to kind of rev it a little bit, you know. And it just wasn't going. You know what I mean? It drives normally, but if you step on it, it just doesn't do anything. So I saw there was a little plastic adjustment screw. I might mess with that. And the cable looks pretty loose. Okay, let's put some eyes on here, shall we? I got these nice eyes from saltwaterflies.com we're going to put on here. Let's see what size these are, because I actually kept the packaging here. These are, shout out to saltwaterflies.com. These are the size 3.5 or the 7/32. Okay. Very cool. I think these are what I've been using for most of my surf candies recently. Now, the real question is, I actually have 11 to tie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So I can use like 12 of these eyes. And then the rest I have to keep. So I'm just going to put this away. Just so I hate running out of stick-on eyes when I'm doing an order of flies for like a fly shop. And I have like a couple flies left. And I have to put different size eyes on when they're just slightly different. It just drives me nuts. Like the OCD of it. I shouldn't, it's not real OCD, but I say that, but that's just like trying to be perfect or something. Real OCD would be like losing my mind over it, losing sleep over it. All right. Yeah, term OCD is very like, oh yeah, look, I have OCD. You should put about playing cards, move your cards. Meanwhile, like actual OCD is probably like far, far worse. I'm assuming. All right. We're going to glue this up. So I like to take the hook and slightly bend it down a little bit. And what that allows me to do is actually take this. Yeah, I've been guilty of it myself. But then over the years, I thought about it, becoming more educated and grown up and realized that, like, it's probably far different from people that actually have OCD. Because you just say it for everything. People are like, oh, man, I have OCD about these pencils. Can you move them a little bit? Like, no, you're just annoyed by the fact that there's like one red pencil with those green pencils or something. So, by the way, Katie, what have you watched on Twitch before? I'm curious. Were you watching people gaming or something like that? All right, let's put some epoxy on here. You watching some like, I'm trying to picture maybe some like Baldur's Gate 3 or like Elden Ring streamers or something, like trying to picture what you play. Something I gotta do. Actually, I was watching Djibouti show the other day. Play some PS1 games, but I have my Twitch Prime. I gotta use it. My Twitch Prime's just been sitting there. I'm like, dude, I gotta make sure I use it at least every once in a while because there's some great channels that I don't watch Twitch very often nowadays. I'm watching a lot more like YouTube. I just don't watch a lot of live streams nowadays. You know what I mean? I'm like constantly like working on Warhammer stuff or fly tying or this or that. But I haven't watched Sequisha in a while. I gotta check out how Sequisha's doing. Speaking of North Carolina, it's been a while since I've stopped by Geston. I have been though. I know Doc is a can appreciate Djibouti show. I've been on a binge of the Djibouti show retro commercials. They do the same where they watch like commercials from the 90s. If you don't know, Djibouti Dubs, classic YouTube channel. And Justin from Djibouti show, him and Pops, they have a channel, and Louis as well. And he did all these like old school YouTube dubs that are hilarious. So he does like very good voices and stuff like that. They're just really funny. It's like a group of brothers and cousins that hang out essentially, and friends. But so you get Justin's inherently beautiful dubbing potential on just like 90s commercials. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, okay, gotcha. On TikTok lives, okay. Okay. Used to stream, but I never had any hobbies. Used to try to stream. Yeah. So the funny thing, I'm gonna let you know is I streamed for probably, and right now there's, I mean, not that I'm complaining, but we don't have a ton of people watching. Usually, we do all right here. For like a year and a half, I had nobody watching except for my buddy Fred. Fun fact, I had Eric. Eric like made a Twitch account, but he's like, I hate Twitch. He's like, I don't want to have to use Twitch. I don't know how to use it. This and that. You got to stream on YouTube. So I had like one person that would maybe watch is my buddy Fred, who's a mod here. Trying to stream video games, this and that. And then I finally realized, maybe I'll stream fly tying because that's what I'm pretty good at. And then it's been like 6.5 years later, but unfortunately, there's been periods of me not streaming as much and this and that because of work. I've, had to stop becoming a bum, a fly tying for a living, and actually like now fly tying actually have a job as well. But so I used to stream a lot, but we have a good time. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've been exhausted after clamming. It's just so exhausting being out there. So we've been getting up early. We've been going at 7 every day, which isn't the earliest, but it's early enough for me, to be honest with you. Crack a noon charters, LI flies Mike. To escape the heat, essentially, we go early, like 7:30 or 6:30 or something, because essentially by 9 o'clock, it's just you're dying out there. It's so hot when you're on the water, but so it's been tough. Like I'm like I want to stream, and I come home I'm like and I'm like working on my car and this and that. But once I get my boat, my truck set up, we'll have free reign to stream as much as we want. Especially take the boat out and go fishing and stream. So that'll be exciting. It's gonna be so nice to like have my own boat again. Spending every day on a boat. It's nice to have your own. It's like not having a car. I spend more time on the water than I do on land half the time. Speaking of which, I'm so happy my truck is like went from all mildewy and whatnot after getting water damage to now being like absolutely pristine. I've spent so much time cleaning the interior of that truck. It's like brand new. All I need, the cherry on the top for classic. This is my classic, like when I was like 19, 20, 21, me and my buddy Eric, we had cars. I don't know why I'm grabbing an eye here, I'm getting distracted. The classic thing from like my car culture days is I need some of the black ice car fresheners. That was like you get a new car, you put that black ice in there, and that thing, you're good to go. That was like the final piece of the puzzle. It's like such a classic smell to me, too, of just the like car culture, driving in 240s, like having a 20-something-year-old car, that is the only thing you can afford. And like ripping the interior out, like, putting drop suspension and going drifting, getting your car towed. That was a fun experience. But so I got to put that on there. You want to go on the boat? Yeah, I'll take you out on the boat. When I had it working, we were going fishing. Mind you, I was fly tying at the time, just that professionally, so I had all the time in the world. But I mean, I was using the boat like 4 or 5 times a week. Once I have that thing working, I'm gonna have to at least use it once or twice a week, just because you spend the money on it, you got to use it. You know what I mean? So, we'll take you out, no problem. We'll go out fishing. What I do is which we don't have to do, but I stream on my boat, so I stream fishing and stuff like that. But so I use it a lot. I go out, I stream on Twitch. We're out there. We were shark fishing like 12 miles offshore. It was pretty cool. But take you out, do some fluke fishing or something, some striper fishing out in the bay or something like that. I don't think Eric's been on my boat, actually. Eric's not much of a boat guy, but yeah, we've had many guests. I was thinking about it the other day. We had, and I hope Artie's doing well, a real G35, longtime moderator on the channel, who I haven't seen in a while. Mind you, he has a family and a life, and he's older. He's older than me too, so he's far more responsibilities. But we were lucky. I took him and his wife out, which was very nice. I didn't stream it because they were like, "Oh, we want to go fishing." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll take you guys out." So that was really cool. Meeting Artie after him being a mod on my channel for so many years and taking him and his wife out fishing. And then we had the guest star, major star, in my opinion. What do you call it? Fuzzy, who is a fellow streamer here on Twitch. And he was like literally going every state in the United States. I think except maybe Hawaii. Maybe he did go to Hawaii. I have no idea. The guy streams a lot, and he streams all over the place. But that year, he was like going every state and catching a fish in every state on stream or something. So I took him out on the boat, and we went fishing, got him some striped bass in the fog. And then also, I think got him a fish on the fly or something. I hooked one and let him reel it in or something. No, yeah, he hasn't been on my boat. No. I've taken Eric out canoeing, going fishing in lakes, in the bay. My good friend Eric, and just for all you folks that aren't in on the conversation here. And every single time he would bring a lawn chair. He would put the lawn chair in the canoe, even though there's a seat in the canoe, and have a cooler full of beers. And he wouldn't touch a fishing rod once. He'd be like, "You have something with like a bobber I can hang on?" No, I don't have something with a bobber. No. You can just hang out. Well, this is the first time I've ever seen anyone bring a lawn chair and put it in a canoe with a seat. But, innovative, you got to give it to him. All right. I think we're going to go with one more thin layer of resin here. I actually remember a lot of those trips. I remember one day we were fishing by the bridge. I took my buddy Rev with me. That massive boil on a crease fly. I'll never forget that. He has no idea probably what I'm talking about, but there was a massive fish came up. It was like somebody flushed a toilet, but it was like a airliner toilet. Because what happens is when these fish open their mouth, striped bass, they don't have teeth, so the force of them opening their mouth is so big, when they open their mouth, it creates a vortices, and it sucks the bait into their mouth. They don't have teeth. They have like sandpaper. So they can grip onto stuff, larger baits, like bunker and whatnot. But smaller bait, they literally suck into their mouth just by opening their mouth. It's like it creates a suction. And it creates a boil. So when you're fishing with top water, you physically see it. And I'll never forget, it was in the fog right by the bridge. And it was in between. There's a couple bars. There was one of the bars we were in between in the canoe. And we were doing drifts back and forth. Massive boil. It was probably one of the biggest fish that ever attempted to eat one of my flies. It was crazy. It was so cool. I'll never forget that. We drive past that every day when I go clamming. I think about it every day. That potential. It was probably like a 30, 40 pound fish or something. You know what I mean? I'll never forget that. I also remember taking another friend of mine, and we were out there. It's the most beautiful day in the bay in my Ram 15. It was like a 15-foot canoe, I want to say. I think it was a Ram 15 by Coleman. I'm pretty sure that was the name. You could look it up. I'm pretty sure it was a Ram 15, which the 15 would the Ram's the model, 15 is probably the foot. So it was a pretty big canoe. It was actually pretty big. But we're out in the bay with my buddy, and it was so nice out. So nice out. You like turned your head and look around, completely black, like the sky is completely dark. And all of a sudden, like, it just starts, like, the wind goes up to like 40 miles an hour. I can't remember if it was my buddy Eddie, not the Eddie you're thinking of, Kitty, the one we went to high school with, or it was my buddy Peter from high school. I can't remember, but it was like 3 to 4 foot waves, like winds 30, 40 miles an hour. There was like lightning going on, and one of my friends, like, he started freaking out. He was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die!" And I looked at him and I was like, "You need to paddle like like you've never paddled before, dude." And we were like, whoosh, like an Olympic paddling team crossing like the Australian continent to New Zealand, like the first human settlers. We were like like paddling back. It was like the craziest experience. He was like freaking out the whole time, and I was like giving him like a Robert De Niro speech, you know what I mean, to motivate him. Oh God, I've been in some crazy scenarios in that canoe, like things you probably shouldn't have done, but we had a lot of fun, dude. Ended up selling that thing. I forget where, probably on Craigslist, but yo, AC Fishing, what's up, man? How you doing? I just played the Albie highlighter. We're tying some Albie flies now. You could see a young AC Fishing. He's like 3 foot taller now. What's going on? You getting ready to play some Rust or something? You trying to finagle me out of streaming? What are you doing? I went to the Bev. He's like, "I'm gonna punch Carlos in the throat for not paying for beers." He said. He was saying some shit. I was like, "All right, cool. I'll see ya." Oh God. He was like, "That fucking Carlos." He always says something, but he was going off this time. Obviously, probably jokingly, but I don't know. It was pretty funny. It was cracking me up. Yeah, fucking asshole. It's an inside joke. It's one guy we work with, nicest guy in the world. And like, you know, we were working, and he's like, "Oh man, I think we're long enough into the YouTube video too that I can curse, that I won't get demonetized on that one." But you know, somebody cuts you off, you're like, "Oh, that fucking asshole, man," you know? Like, we're handing out drinking beers in the backyard at AC Fishing's house with his dad and this guy that we work with. And something's going on, and AC Fishing's like talking about something, and he's like, "Yeah," Carlos said, he goes, "Yeah, and that fucking asshole." And Carlos goes, "I didn't say fucking asshole." And like, I love how Aiden just added it in there. Like, it totally made sense. Like, you didn't say fucking asshole, because it sounded like something you would say, Carlos. It was absolutely perfect. We still talk about it this day. It was perfect. That's just like, you know, Long Island. "Hey, that fucking asshole over here. Who you cutting off over here?" You know what I mean? Just classic Long Island lingo. You know what I mean? Loving Long Island lingo, that is. Probably could have done a better job telling that story, but that made me laugh quite a lot. Still makes me laugh when I see Carlos. Fucking asshole. It's so good. Naya just woke up? Okay. Yeah, I gotta, I'll update. I'm so rusty, but we'll just, if you play, I'll play a little bit and have some fun, but I'll probably end up after the stream, I either paint some Warhammer stuff, or I literally relearn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! For probably next week. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I might just take my car up the highway, but unfortunately, I went to the store. I had my check engine light come on. It was so annoying for a basic evap code, so I'm hoping it's just some spider webs, but we'll see. I need to, like, relearn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! By the way, Rev, if you're watching this, yes, I was generally considering going to Brothers Grimm tomorrow and playing in locals. Because I was like, you know what? Oh, man, I was like, I've been watching a lot of Commander content recently. Which, by the way, still, don't worry, I'm not ditching Warhammer. But just been, I was like, oh, I wonder what's Commander's going on. I'm enjoying some Tolarian Community College, this and that. And then I was like, oh, let me check out Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff. And I was like, oh, dude, maybe I was like, I was having fun with my deck. Like, let me check out the prices. The prices went down on a lot of cards because they reprinted everything. That's what I love about Yu-Gi-Oh! They do reprint stuff, which is fantastic. So I lost all the value of my cards, but at least people can buy it. And I was like, oh, there's some, okay, I could buy a couple of those cards. And then I looked, I already had them. I must have, like, ordered cards for my deck. So I got to go back there because I bought all these cards for my deck, upgraded, and never went back during clamming season because I think it was, like, the summertime. So I might go up there probably next Saturday because it's either Tuesday or Saturdays, and Tuesday's D&D, so I ain't doing that. Coot Jenkins got bigger priorities. But I'm ready to get destroyed by some really chill, cool Yu-Gi-Oh! Bros. After, like, playing Magic and stuff and, like, having some interesting interactions with people, I was, like, kind of nervous about going to play Yu-Gi-Oh! In person at a card shop after watching a lot of just videos and content about Yu-Gi-Oh! And about just, like, card communities in general. And it's the same thing with Magic. Like, it's just people. You just get people. Fucking assholes. What are you going to do? But every single person there was like, I had such a good time playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just, I have to drive so far to do it. It sucks. But I had such a good time. Everybody was so nice. I was like, dude, I'm really new to, and this and that. And it was like locals where if you win, you get stuff. But everybody was just having a good time. And I had actually like a easier experience than going to like a Magic draft. I was like, all right, this is, fuck, I might need to do this again. So. Thing is, it's like the most complicated game in the world. It's the only card game where nobody knows what anybody else's cards do. They only know what their cards do. And let me know when you're at a point to where I can interact, because I have no idea what you're doing. Okay? Let me know it's an open game state. All right, cool. But it is a lot of fun. So I got those cards. Might as well use them at some point. I got to go out there. Luckily, there's a great simulator online, community made, called YGO Omega, which is like very, very, in my opinion, because you can actually use the modern format. There's like a Konami made video game on Steam called Master Duel, like just like how Magic has Arena, but it's like a delayed format where the cards are like a year delayed or 6 month delayed in different formats. So I want to play like just like it's a regular match, So there's like a ranked format, so I go on there and get my ass kicked, but every once in a while I win a couple games, feel like I'm cool, and then realize I barely understood what was going on half the time. So, so we'll see. That being said, do have some Warhammer to play. Thousand Suns are waking up soon. I gotta watch out for that. Alright. So we got some Bucktail. I'm gonna go with some more. We just use some Crystal Flash. Let's mix it up. Let's go with some of this really nice Flash Boo. We got the Flash Boo Mirage. It's a really nice kind of not fluorescent. It's a almost like a holographic pearl. It's got a really cool purple color. Hey, I puppy.
I puppy.
Our Texas speech bot sucks. Like most of the time it sounds like shit. That actually sounded pretty good. Thank you, Choke and Stroke. Appreciate it. Can we get a round of applause for Mr. Choke and Stroke? Thank you for the 11 months, my friend. Appreciate that. How you been? What have you been up to, Choke and Stroke? I was gonna give you like a real eye poppy, but I'd rather not. I was gonna go really hard on it, but I think I've only had like a couple White Claws, so if I had like 4 or 5, I would have given you a real. Have to like delete the stream after, but what's going on, Choke and Stroke? How you been, dude? How's your fishing season been up there? I saw you've been. By the way, uh, I want to say that was like a pollock game changer, whatever that was that you tied not too long ago, and you posted in the Discord. Dude, that thing looks so badass. By the way, if you're not in the LI Flies Mike Discord, either on YouTube, go in the description, check that out, join in there, or on Twitch, !Discord, because we have a lot of really awesome people from the community that post some awesome flies, really cool fishing photos from around the world. You want to check out some of the cool European bass that Doc is catching out in Ireland, check it out. But that was a beautiful looking fly, dude. You knocked out about 30 flies today, flies for the shop today, aiming for 50. Very nice. What are you tying? You doing some freshwater or you doing salt? Damn, look at this, dude. You guys are out tying me. You guys are out tying me. Doc's over here tying 50 surf candies. You're over here tying 50 whatever you're tying. I only got an order for 2 dozen surf candies and some other flies, so it's probably about, it's more than 50, but still. Where's my 50 surf candy order? Bullshit. Fucking asshole. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad. Do you work at a fly shop? I think you do, right? Oh, the guitar minnows. Yes, yes. People love guitar minnows. Fancy clousers. Yep. Yes, yes. Great fly. Great fly. You can't beat it. Can't beat it. Really just a little, add a little spice bait it, clouser, add a little flavor to it. I like it. All right. Put a little pink for accent. I think we're going to go with tan here. This tan bucktail is not very good, though. So. Ooh. Well, we go olive. Yeah. No, let's go olive. I do like me some olive surf candies. That's for sure. But thank you again, Choke and Stroke, for the 11 months, dude. Appreciate that, my friend. I tie for 1. I help out if I'm there and they're busy. Yeah, I remember. That was right. I remember something. Like you have some connection to a fly shop or something, I think. Or maybe I'm just making that up and I just kind of put the 2 and 2 together, but nice. Very cool, very cool. Oh, that's a great fly to bang out, right? You're going for clousers. Oh, I didn't know that. You're in the service? Oh, very nice. Well, don't worry. I'm not going to be all cringed and say thank you for your service, but thank you for it. I did that to my buddy once. He almost slapped me in the face. He was like, shut the fuck up. Something, you punk ass bitch. But very cool. Very cool. Yes, yes. Are you gonna do what are you doing after that? You gonna be doing something related to whatever you were doing now? You don't have to get into the specifics, but in case you're, are you James Bond or? Well, we don't want to. That's right. We don't want to get. It could be confidential. I'm sure it's like maybe you're doing like some sort of engineering thing or like, mechanical or who knows, whatever, computers. There's a lot of different stuff in the Air Force. I have a couple friends that went to the Air Force for different things. But very cool. Very cool. Let's put some eyes on here. Oh, Izzy. Oh, very cool. That is awesome, dude. Yeah, I've heard the name before. I don't even know if I've ever officially tied a guitar minnow. Isn't there like a bead, right? Isn't there a guitar string? Is that what it is or something? Is that what it is? Wasn't that like the idea behind it? Or am I making that up? You use like the ball end of the guitar string or something? I feel like that maybe is. I could be wrong. But that's very cool, dude. That's awesome. Are you gonna try and take over the shop? Nice. Hell yeah. the KC-46, is that a big transport sort of dealio? Very nice. Yeah, get out of the mechanic business, all right? That's all we gotta. As somebody who's you're a mechanic, I've been a mechanic. Get out of that. It's great, but the private mechanic industry, yeah, good luck. You want to spend $60,000, $80,000 on tools and get yourself a nice in debt to strap on tools, as we called it, appropriately. I love being a mechanic and stuff, but man, it's a tough thing. Constantly having to learn. You're like, all right, you're going to a class for electronic vehicles. All right, you're going to a class on anti-lock brake systems for the new Toyota Smart anti-lock brake system. Okay, cool. Then we're also going to need you to go, and by the way, I'm probably not going to pay you for this. We need you to go drive up the island. Maybe we'll pay you for this one for a day. Go learn about Range Rover airbags. And you're like, oh my God. Like, being a mechanic 20, 30 years ago was the thing. Just rebuilding carburetors, bleeding brake systems, adjusting drums. It's so complicated nowadays being an automotive tech. That's why I was a B tech. I loved it. You know, brake jobs, alignments, but now you have, you know, electronic adjusting suspension, right? Which makes it way tougher. You have, literally you have to go in with a scan tool and to compress a Volvo rear brake caliper. I'm pretty sure it's Volvo rear brake calipers. You had to use a $30,000 a year licensed scan tool. Forgot the name of it. The one we were using for Snap-on. You buy it for like however much, tens of thousands. Then you have to pay for the licensing for the Mercedes. Pay for the licensing, like, it was crazy. Yeah, what it does is it electronically compresses the park and lock brake for the rear calipers or something. And if you didn't know that, you try to compress it normally, you would end up destroying a rear caliper, an electronic caliper or something like that. It was just like, that was just one example. It was like, oh my God, dude. It's just so much. Because I started when it wasn't that bad. And electric cars started becoming more and more prevalent. The issues with electronic vehicle batteries started becoming more and more prevalent. I took a couple courses on electronic vehicles. They start out like this. All right, this is very dangerous, yada, yada, yada. You can't do anything without wearing these orange gloves, these very thick gloves. You can't do anything, okay? Anything orange underneath the cover, you could die if you touch it on the car, okay? They're showing us, okay, cool. You see this giant gaff. And we're like, what? There's a wooden gaff with a giant metal gaff end, it's a hook. It's a meat hook. Massive. And I'm telling you, it's like this. It's massive. Because it's literally the size of a man, to hook a man that is, or a person that is being electrocuted to death. They're probably already dead, by the way, at this point, from being electrocuted by the electric vehicle battery. But you need to take their body off of it. Otherwise, they might be alive or they might die. But you have to take them off of it. And the only way to do it is with a gaff. So the guy's showing us the gaff. If something happens, this is how, like, the dude's probably dead, but you got to take your buddy off the car so he doesn't cook, And we're like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, all right, you don't do anything without the gloves. The first thing they do, the guy takes his gloves off and starts undoing everything. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you. It's impossible to use the gloves. And I'm like, all right, fuck this, dude. I'm not working on electric cars. That's the first thing they did. The instructors took the gloves off that were giving us certifications on electronic vehicles. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you. It's impossible to work with these gloves, so I'm taking them off. He's like, I was like, you want me to get the gaff or Jesus? I was like, yeah, I'm good. Damn. Yeah. Well, hopefully not by that wattage of electricity, because I think you'd probably be. But yeah, I've been electrocuted a couple times while working on cars. That's not the worst, like the 12 volt. You know what I mean? But it's those crazy high voltage car batteries in the EVs that'll melt you. You ever seen a screwdriver get dropped on a battery? You never put your tools on the. I was taught this early on. You never put your tools on the firewall, or the firewall maybe, but you never put it on the radiator support or on the battery in particular, because a screwdriver, very long screwdrivers can land, hit both ends of the terminals on the battery, get fused, and the battery will just explode. Like, yeah, it's been a couple months, it had been a couple years since that happened, but we've seen that happen. I'm like, all right, mental note, don't put the screwdriver on the battery. Gotcha. Like so many different things. I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun, but it's the thing I don't like about, and you can get around this, right? But now, so hear me out. The thing I don't like about the mechanic industry is you get paid by billable hours. Now, the great thing about that, if you could get a bunch of jobs that you can bang out, you can make more money than you would, way more money than you would normally make being paid by the hour, right? Because you're literally getting jobs done that bill an hour and a half, you're getting them done in 45 minutes. Now, you're saying, well, if you're not a mechanic, you're like, why should I pay an hour and a half? Well, it's because this person literally has, like, gotten to the point to where they're so good, they have the right tools, they've spent like $40,000 on tools so they can zip, 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 like a NASCAR mechanic and bang out these brake jobs, right? So they'll still get paid for the billable amount, right? So that's pretty cool, thinking about it. What the fuck is this? No. The downside of that is, okay, yeah, hey, grandma, how's it going? Yeah, you're coming in for your yearly inspection? All right, cool. Brake job, tires, oil change. Oh, power steering flush, brake flush. So you get people, I never did this because I had a heart. You get people that will literally just sell. And especially with people that maybe are like, older people and stuff like that. Boom, selling tires, boom, 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 and they're making bank. But so that's the downside of that, is it's very like competitive, and it's very much like, so you have to find a mechanic shop that literally doesn't want to rip you off, which, is not the easiest thing in the world. But so that's one thing I like. Now, if you're working at a place where you get paid by the hour, then I went to a place where I got paid by the hour. I'm like, this is going to be great. It is. But then you're making like barely above minimum wage at times, and you're making substantially less money, and you're constantly having to sweep, and it's like I love the billable, but it's also like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation as a tech. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, charge by the book. Yeah. Billable is the best, right? But you just got to make sure you don't have people in your shop that are like scumbagging some old ladies or something. You'll be making money, but those people will never come back after their, her kids check and you sold like a brake flush, power steering flush, this and that. And like, yeah, that stuff's all good to do, but you didn't need to do that, right? The lady drives like 1,000 miles every 5 years because she's like 90 years old, right? So there was it's just like anything else, you know what I mean? But I'm telling you what, when you had a good week and you're selling brake jobs and this and that, like people who actually need it, you know what I mean? And tires, and people, it's just busy because people need work done on their cars. And you're staying till 9 o'clock at night every night, and you build out like 80 hours in like a 50-hour work week. You know what I mean? You're like, gee. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You got to actually find somebody that, and there are shops. I've worked at shops, and the owners really care about people and stuff and this and that. But then there's times where like, okay, well, guess what? Bills are due in like a week. You better get out there and start selling some tires. And that's not necessarily based because it's just every mechanic. It's because they don't know how to run a business, or because running a business in New York is like impossible. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's interesting. The last place I worked at was they were by the book, and the owner, they wouldn't do that to people. They were very straight up. I got pulled over by a cop one day. He goes, yeah. He thought I had a commercial light. He couldn't see because I had a plate frame. You're actually not allowed to have, if you go to a dealer, they say, Apple Honda, and they put a plate frame around your license plate. It's illegal in New York State to have a plate frame because it covers up the commercial part of a license plate. Little known fact, so they can pull you over for that. I was going hunting, during the winter. Pulled me over. I had a bunch of fishing rods in the back of my truck. He thought it was like work stuff. So reasonably, he was like, listen, I just want to make sure if you have a commercial, you need commercial plates or you need the license for Southampton Town, because it's a very big thing. People come out here and they operate in Southampton Town, and so that you're supposed to have a license to operate a business, like for construction or plumbing or whatever, right? So they check for that stuff. And he goes, oh, yeah, by the way, you should rip that plate frame off the back. And this is after I quit from the place that the plate frame is from, the shop. I'm like, what? And I was like, I ended up talking to this kid. I'm like, dude, you were like 3 grades younger than me. I remember you used to have a giant-ass backpack. I knew your brother. And what your name's this, that. And he's like, oh, yeah. We were chatting, right? It's funny. This kid, like, now is like a cop or whatever. And he goes, you should rip that plate frame off your back or whatever. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I hate that fucking place. They tried to rip me off like 3 times. I'm like, dude, I worked there for like a year. And like the people ran it. But you know what you got to think about? This is one thing you don't think about. Mechanic shops. It's like a revolving door. You get people that work there for a while. And the reason why they work there for a while, they're dedicated, whatever, and generally those people, they won't try and rip like me. Like I worked at a place for 3 years. I'm not going to rip off customers because you end up seeing them like every 3 months, this and that. You develop a rapport, and you're like, listen, you're going to need tires in like 2 months, 3 months, depending on how much you drive. I don't know. This is how much. You don't fail inspection. We're going to pass you through. If you want to do the tires, you can. But we're not. You don't fail. I can't fail you for it. And whatever. Just keep that in mind. And if it's going to be winter time, you might want to change them too. If you got kids in the car, it's up to you, buddy. You know what I mean? Here's the depth on your treads. But the problem is, then you get constantly getting like some dude that comes in and he's like, the boss is like, oh man, this guy said he's going to bill out 35 hours in a day, and he's a hot shot. He's got a $500,000 worth of tools. In a month, this guy quits. You know what I mean? And this is like every shop that I've been at, it's been like this. You get people that it's like a revolving door where like these like hot shop mechanics show up, boom, 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 and this and that, and they're promised the world, but the shop can barely, is trying to make ends meet, but meanwhile they're like, you're doing cars all day. It's just like a clusterfuck. I was like, I'm never owning an automotive shop. And that's probably just partially just whatever, but it's just like, it's just constant, just nonstop stuff. It's just like if there was shop politics, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of wild. I did enjoy it though. It was a lot of fun. I never would have driven an Acura NSX 911 Turbo, Cobra Mustang. I would have never driven 01 Corvettes, GTRs. Like I've driven so many cool cars. I've done alignments on like 68 Camaros with big blocks. And this dude is like drifting. He's like sideways on this like road. He's like, all right, we got to adjust the camber a little bit. I'm like, dude, you got to calm down. Like this guy's like breaking the tires loose on this like road with like a 800 horsepower 68 Corvette Camaro. I'm like doing the alignment. Took like 12 hours. My boss was like, whatever we got to do, make sure this guy's happy because his friend is like a musician, some like famous musician or something. I'm like, all right, whatever. Cool. So we're like sitting with this guy all day. He's like a character. Beautiful, beautiful retro mod, like late 60s Camaro with like a giant big block. And I would adjust the suspension, and then he would take me and he would be ripping this thing. Like the rear end's breaking loose constantly going around this windy ass road with like 30-foot drop offs. I'm like, dude, you gotta chill out, bro. It was so much fun though. I would have never experienced stuff like that if I was a mechanic, you know what I mean? I can't afford a $150,000 Camaro retro mod, with like a modern big block or something. Like it was crazy stuff. Guy comes in with I think it was a 91 NSX. And for a New York State inspection, we drive the cars. And I'm not like, nothing. I just drove it normally, but just sitting in an NSX felt like it was just so cool. Because I had driven Ferraris at that point, but the NSX was like a childhood dream. I was like, dude, this is so cool. Some old guy, you know what I mean? Probably barely takes it out of the driveway, just sits in the Hamptons, in his Hamptons house. It's like one of those things where they'll find it like 30 years later, pristine condition, low miles. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of not fun and a lot of fun, but if you find a really good shop, you stick with them. That's why customers will keep going there because everybody wins. You know what I mean? Mechanics, the customers, the owner, but yeah, it's funny because it's that stigma of like mechanics constantly ripping people off or techs. That's why they've abandoned the mechanic term and now you're a tech, you're an automotive tech. But I think that's just inherently due to the book-based monetization of fixing cars. Like if you need money, dude, you just sell brake jobs, you know what I mean? Like it's one of the things I didn't like about it. Is that but it's like the best way to do it. You know what I mean? It's just people need to like have morals when they're selling jobs. I worked for 3 dealerships, Kia, Saturn, and Honda. Had a ton of fun and also met a lot of, yes, it was a lot of, I had a lot of fun. I'll never forget. I really did enjoy it. One of the reasons I stopped was my back. I was doing a lot of like Jeep, really big. We get a lot of Jeep off-road. First off, there's no reason they should be using these tires for the sand. They're getting like giant rock crawling tires for driving on the beach, which is the opposite. You want nice flat tires that you air down, right? But they're getting these like rock climbing treads. I would like throw my back out all the time doing these Jeep alignments and tires. Oh man, it was a lot of fun though. Very cool. Saturn though, man, when was the last time Saturn? I gotta be honest, I miss Pontiac as a fucking Trans Am lover and Firebird lover. I miss Pontiac. Like, I kind of miss Saturn. I miss those Saturns. Those old crappy looking Saturns that like the lady that chain smoked cigarettes would pull up in with like 2 cats or something or 2 dogs. Those like classic early 2000 Saturns. It's probably just nostalgia more than anything than actual Saturns. But I will say, my buddy Eric, he loves Saturns. I used to see him jump Saturns over a railroad. Oh no, that was a Ford Probe. But like, I feel like a Ford Probe and a Saturn, right? They're like the same thing. What everyone does with those things is there's like a racetrack nearby, and they do like a demolition derby style race where they drive all these junkers. And you always see like old Saturns and stuff out there ripping it up. Oh yeah. I knew a couple of Saturn freaks. I knew there's like one girl I worked with that had a Saturn. It's like the same thing. Like this one girl I worked with had a Hyundai Tiburon, and they're like, "I don't think you understand what the potential of the Tiburon." I'm like, "You're talking about a Hyundai Tiburon, bro." Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, all right, we get it. It's like a dual cam or like a twin cam, 16 valve, like 2-liter American 4-cylinder. Meanwhile, I'm driving like a 240 with like I can run like 14 pounds of boost with a T28 or something, you know what I mean, or something. But they had a cult following, just like a Dodge Neon SRT. I actually like the Dodge Neon SRT 4s. But it's that sort of car, that like kind of 90s, 2000s American car that like, it's like, they're like kind of sporty-ish, where they had like a cult thing going on. The Saturn Owners Club of America. Yep. Yeah, some good times. Now, boat, car. Yeah, exactly. Same power to weight ratio as the Viper. Sheesh. See, that's the thing that you would say, that, right? Yeah, well, it's got the same power to weight ratio as a Viper. And then you're sitting, are we talking about the Saturn or the Tiburon? Either or. You're sitting in one of those next to a dude in a Viper. You know what I mean? Like, with a fucking Italian-inspired V10. Oh, the SRT4, yeah. The SRT4 was sick. I do like the SRT4. I'm not going to lie. But even the SRT4... That's like something an SRT4 owner would say. Did you know that this has the same power to weight ratio as a Viper? And you're like, oh, wow. That's cool. Both of them. Yeah. Both of them nuts in your mouth. That's right. Exactly. Good job, Choke and Stroke. That's good. Yeah. Did you notice what I did? I went to cut the resin and I haven't hit the resin with the light yet. Because we've been going on like a rant about cars. I can picture the dude, like some dude with an SRT4. He's like vaping. He's like, yeah. I don't actually know if you know, but the performance section of Dodge, I got the chart here. If you look at this is a Dodge Viper from 1999. Same power weight ratio, independent rear suspension, anti-lock brakes, front and rear. You're like, oh wow, okay, cool. Like, this guy really likes his Dodge Neon, dude. Fucking God bless him. Nah, I think Neons are pretty cool. You can mod them to the high heavens too. I like a good turbo 4-cylinder. I'm a turbo guy. I'll probably move more to naturally aspirated later on in life because you introduce turbos and start blowing things up. Who would have thought when you start adding boost to motors that weren't built for it with high compression? Then pump them up. Yeah. I was cutting potatoes, so I missed it. Yeah. If there's anything my years of Twitch streaming has taught me, is to watch out for D's nuts jokes. Like Imagine Dragons, Bofum, D's, Bofa. There's so many D's nuts jokes that you can get hit by that you kind of have to be ahead of it, ahead of the game. You actually kind of have to innovate D's nuts jokes yourself as a Twitch streamer. If you think about it, right? If you start creating your own D's nuts, then you'll never be caught off guard. All right. Hit this with a light one more time. See, look at that. We've been making D's nuts jokes and talking about Dodge Neons, and we're already 2 hours and 20 minutes into the stream. That hour flew by, dude. Tied 2 surf candies, a couple D's nuts jokes. I do have resin all over my hands, though. I kind of was losing control there. I was getting so excited thinking about Saturns. How you been, Super? I hope you've been well, dude. How's things going? Did you you were making a move, right? Did you end up moving? If you did, I hope things went smoothly. I think, where were you going? You were going inland somewhere, right? Got some nice trout fishing? Maybe some inland stripers or something? I wasn't even going to make a Bofum joke. I said it because Supra made both. Oh, okay, I gotcha. I just assumed. I feel like I've never heard Bofum. It's always Bofa. You're like, oh, have you heard of the House of Bofa? You're like, what? And the both of these nuts in your mouth. You're like, got him. It's so easy, right? Bofum, I just assumed was like a evolution of Bofa. Oh god, I feel like I could use that so easily on some of my friends because they just don't watch the internet. If I said the House of Bofa, why don't you try it on somebody? Go to your one of your beloved friends next time and be like, dude, I was watching this documentary on YouTube. It was mentioned about this weird cult that was in Long Island. Like, say, make it relevant, right? Really dig into it. You got it. That's the thing. You got to put effort into it. And you're like, dude, there's this really weird cult, and it was called the House of Bofa. And they'll be like, the House of Bofa. So you got to get them to say it, though. They have to say it. If they don't say it, it doesn't mean anything, right? So you have to really reel them in with, like, fucking peak storytelling, or I don't know. You're just going to have to freeball it. But you hit them with that House of Bofa. Because it really does sound like something. You know what I mean? I picked that up. I got to admit, I got that from Geshen. I got that from Sequisha. Was where the first time I ever heard of Bofa, D's nuts. But yeah. I am a fan of D's nuts jokes. They're dumb, but they're my kind of dumb. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Uh, you said boat or car. I said both. Oh God, both of these nuts. I mean, you could really just throw at the end of anything. I went to New Mexico for a couple weeks and I loved it. Oh, very cool. Yes, I think I actually is it Arizona or New Mexico? I think I have some relatives nearby there. But I've never been to that side of the states myself. I've been to Cali, like mid or northern Cali. Probably southern. That's really just the West Coast. Other than that, Chicago, and then other than that, just East Coast. Those are the only two. I haven't been to that arid part of the country yet, but I wouldn't mind going bow hunting for javelina one day out that way, but I'll go fly fishing for some trout up in the. Who would have thought you have elk and out in places like Arizona and New Mexico. Elk. You have mountain ranges with like, snow top peaks. It's pretty crazy out in the desert. But I guess obviously it goes from a desert, bio form or whatever to like more like hill ruggedous terrain or something. But Elephant Butte Reservoir. Ah, very cool. You do a little fishing while you're out there? They have all the fish. Oh, okay. Nice. Hell yeah. Very cool. Could you imagine living in a desert before like modern times? Like I think about that sometimes. Like could imagine like going out as a settler or like, I guess probably that was under control of Mexico. That was actually Mexican land at the time. But just imagine like living out in the desert. It's pretty wild. And even going back further to like indigenous people here in the or here in the Americas, right? And you go and you see they have like there's this one dude on YouTube who I found is really cool. He goes and like uses drones, but he also goes and climbs up and he finds old structures, and these could be hundreds, these could be thousands of years old, either from like Spanish times or, more recent or later. And these are people that cross the landmass, came into North America, inhabited North America after the Ice Age and the receding and whatnot, right? And ended up in the deserts and whatnot, and built like they must have like there was like war or they were afraid of getting attacked or who knows what. They were probably like semi-nomadic tribes, and they built these like I don't know how they would even climb up. Like they would somehow climb up these like rock faces and then build these walls to block it off. And it would be like you're walking with like that much, right? And then you get past and there's like an opening. There'd be like an opening on these big cliff faces. And it's probably like 100 and some feet up in these gorges. And they would build these like hidden little homes and like grain storage banks. And this dude's nuts. This guy goes out there by himself and he's I saw him climbing up this thing, and the whole YouTube comment section is like, dude, you cannot do this alone. You will die. Like, it's too dangerous to go out because if you fall, you're going to die, right? You're out. He's hiked like miles in the desert. So, like, please be safe. This guy's climbing up this thing and climbs up and gets into this old structure. Of course, not touching anything because he's being respectful and stuff, but really cool. And you just think about, like, the conditions that those people were in, probably building, like, those things that you saw Les Stroud using where they drop and, like, land on those rats. Any means necessary to hunt, eating cactus fruits. And, like, how did they even get water? You know what I mean? There's barely any water around. And at the same time, they're building these crazy, like, cliff homes up on these cliff faces. Probably because there's just tons of different war between native tribes and stuff like that. There was constantly, war and strife and all sorts of things going on. You know what I mean? Prickly pear, yep. Prickly pear is something that if you watch Survivor, man, that'll save your life one day if you're somehow end up in the desert. But I would not. There's so many places I would want to be. I don't want to be somewhere where it's really hot because there's nothing worse than getting dehydrated. I'd probably rather freeze than dehydrate to death, because that's like my least favorite thing is being dehydrated and it's so hot. You know what I mean? It's tough. I don't know how you could do it in the desert. I think about that sometimes. I just had to bring it up. Imagine being in the desert like 300 years ago and trying to survive. Respect. You know, put some fucking respect on the name. You know what I mean? Oh, the roads are bad in Nevada? Really? Interesting. Well, they got all that money coming from Vegas. What are they not sharing that or something? Okay. We're going to take a quick little break here. I'm going to wash this resin off my hands. We're going to come back. We're going to tie a couple more Albie flies. And yeah, appreciate everybody hanging out. I hope you folks have been having an awesome night. If you're new here and you came here under the impression that I'm going to sit down and sometimes we do this, but tie flies verbatim, word for word, and say what I'm doing. A lot of times it's kind of just like hanging out and chit-chatting, and if you have any questions, whatever, and we'll talk about prickly pears and, you know, all that. But yes, all that jazz. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment. I'm just going to go wash. I got resin all over my hands. I'm going to go wash this off. I'm going to grab another drink real quick, use the restroom. I'll be back in like 2-3 minutes, not even. I'm going to go Usain Bolt style and go running. And we're going to play our Albie highlight one more time because it's our favorite thing. And it's also the longest intermission break I have. So I'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be tying some more Albie flies here in just a moment. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Stay tight, all right? Yeah, keep it tight. Yeah, dude. Yeah, how you doing? Knuckle buster. Are you good? Do you need me to do anything?
Yeah, I might need a ride. Yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna turn now.
I'm gonna try and get on the bow.
Yeah, get on the bow. All right, you're doing good. Keep doing your thing. I'm gonna move us away.
Is that a little one?
No, that's a nice one.
Oh, let's go!
Come here, close next to our alley. Good job.
That's sick.
All right. Nice.
Let's go! Woo! Albie slap!
Good job, dude.
Yee!
Looking down the barrel of a 12 gauge little toonie, bro. On the Albacore too. Yeah, take it there like that.
my god, dude! What the fuck? Woohoo! Oh my god. Yep. Oh my god! I gotta turn the boat so I can cast. Oh my god, dude! Alright, get back to catching him, Diego.
You're gonna go on now. There's a shark.
Frigates!
Albie?
Frigates.
Frigate.
Whoa! Whoa! There's gotta be bluefin or something. Look at. Hell yeah, dude. You grab a fish like that. I mean, to grab a fly like that, a big deceiver. Albies in the rain on the hat.
Okay. We're back. Yeah, well, it's definitely up here. The cold is the big issue, right? When it comes to roads. Because what happens is you get tiny little cracks, they patch it, then it rains or snows, the water melts, then it freezes, it expands. So that's like the big issue, but for sure. But what are you gonna do? But yeah, I've been to some states. The roads are fantastic. I've been in Turkey. The roads are like unbelievable. So I don't know if it's how they pave it or what, but I don't know. It's a classic joke of like the mob is doing like all the road work in New York City, and they're all like hanging out, sitting around smoking cigarettes. Like there's like one dude working. I'm sure they work hard. I would imagine it's probably tough working out there on the side of the road. You might get hit any second. The problem is we have so many cars on the road. I think the genuine issue is they can't like properly fix one side of the road. Like shut down there's only one lane on a highway in some of these areas. And it's like impossible for them to like. That's why at night you'll be coming back from like JFK from the city at like 4 a.m, and they'll have the entire highway shut down, and they'll be repaving it. Used to see that every once in a while, but anyways, this is coming from somebody that drove an S14. This is a Nissan 240 with coilovers that was lowered. So I'm telling you right now, I felt every single one of those bumps. So I'm telling you, it's pretty bad out here, but some areas are better than others. But you get off the highways, you get off the main roads, and you go into small, the areas in some of these towns. It's obviously much better, but it's still pretty bad some places. What it ends up doing is it just ends up making you spend more money on suspension components living up here. Constantly, like I said, you got a BMW. Oh, you got nice aluminum wheels. Oh, wow. Yeah, nice and light. They look great. Oh, yeah, you just hit a pothole. Guess what? That's $800. We constantly have BMWs going out to the Hamptons, hit a pothole on the way out, completely bent the wheel to where now we have to send it to the city. They heat it up, bend it back, they sand it, refinish it, paint it, powder coat it. It was a whole thing. It was always these BMWs and Volvos and stuff with really lightweight aluminum wheels. They're really nice, but that's where you live in, like for Germany. If you live in Germany, you can use those. You know what I mean? I felt bad. Some lady, her like brand new BMW, the wheel would be completely destroyed. I mean, most of the time it's repairable, but it, significant amount of money to have that not only repaired, but you're not going to be driving around with a visibly repaired wheel. You're going to have it completely powder coated and refinished. So it ends up being like quite a lot of money. It's like Ocean Waves, but blacktop. Oh my God, really? That's crazy. We were thinking they aren't pulling up the old shit and they're just repaving over it. Oh God, don't tell me that. That honestly might be it, for all you know. Here they cut it up. They cut it up and they pull out the old part, right? But sometimes they just lay stuff over, or they fill in the holes. But when you see them, they do it legit. They cut it up. You know what I mean? Just give me 1 second here. Oh man, got up early today, and I managed to wash the entire my entire carpet interior on my truck. So I was very happy about that. Just picking the right song here. I do miss playing some Epidemic Sound stuff, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit cleaner not having any music on the stream. It allows you folks, if you want, you could play something yourself. So it used to be a little overbearing just to constantly have music playing in the background, even if it was at a lower volume. So, all right, what are we gonna tie? We've tied Mickelsons, we've tied Surf Candies. What's another great Albie fly I can tie? It's somewhat similar with like bucktail and stuff. Let me think about this. Oh, we haven't done it in a while. Some easy body flies. Yeah. These are one of my favorites. These are just like when I was a kid, I used to tie a lot with this as like an easy way of easy. An easy way of making like a simple, cool looking baitfish fly, right? When I wasn't a master with epoxy, because I always struggled with epoxy getting really clean looking flies. I even had an epoxy turner that was custom made by Dan Eng, Eng, E-N-G his name. Very nice guy. Shout out from the Eastern Fly Rodders, saltwater fly fishing club that doesn't exist anymore. But built me a beautiful custom out of sea foam, a piece of like a lobster buoy or a crab buoy that washed up on the beach. What you used to have to do is take 30-minute, 5-minute epoxy. You'd mix it up. And then you would have, however much time, 3 minutes for 5 or 5 minutes for 5-minute epoxy, or that's why you'd use 30-minute when you were tying an order of flies. You'd have like 12 flies, 20 flies, whatever you could fit on the turner. You would coat them in epoxy and you'd put it on the turner, and it's a piece of foam that's cut. It's like a wheel, and it just slowly spins around, very slowly spins. And that would allow the epoxy to kind of naturally round itself out. But even then, I always struggled. So I'm a really big fan of UV resin because I suck with epoxy. I always sucked with it. I was never that good with it. Like if UV resin never came out, I wouldn't be tying surf candies for a living. You know what I mean? I feel like UV resin generally, for the most part, makes tying stuff like surf candies so much easier to do because you can just hit it with the light. You know, you don't have to wait for 30 minutes or for 5 minutes and babysit it or put it on a thing. And generally the epoxy tournier is supposed to do it, but I don't know, maybe I put too much or whatever. I would constantly struggle with epoxy back in the day. I don't know if anyone else had that issue. If you're watching on YouTube on the VOD, feel free to comment down below. Did you use what do you like better, UV resin or epoxy? I got to start doing that every once in a while. I love streaming, but the great thing about with the VODs on YouTube is, like, you know, 5 years from now, somebody might be watching. They'll be like, oh, I hated using epoxy. Or they're like, I hate UV resin. And that's the nice thing. You got to get that algorithm going, you know what I mean? All right, so we got a little bit of white. I like the pink as the accent. We're going to do that, but then we'll do something else for the top color. Now, the one thing I'm thinking about is with the Easy Body, I'm going to hit the top of it with a marker. So there's only a couple different options when it comes to the marker colors that I have, right? So I'm thinking it's either got to be blue or orange or something, because we've already done olive, already done pink. And I only have so many different colors. I'll show you, like a Sharpie, for instance. What I'm going to do is we'll color this tubing material, and then we'll coat it in epoxy, and we'll have a really cool color to it. Maybe we'll do orange. So let's do a little bit of pink. And then we'll go with some orange. Kind of like a brighter anchovy color, if you will. By the way, if you're ever going shark fishing, always make sure you bring orange flies. From our personal scientific shark fishing studies that are very shark fishing scientific, we would literally, orange was the only color that sharks would respond to when it comes to a fly. Less aggressive shark species. Or they would respond to it the most, more so than pink, chartreuse, white, whatever colors we were using. Yellow and chartreuse, but more so, yellow and orange, I'm sorry, but more so orange. Like, it had to be like 80% orange. Just a giant orange ball of fly. And they would see that thing and they just could not resist teething it until they eventually either decided to try and eat it or not. And that's hook them right in the corner of the mouth when they turn. That's probably something we're going to do next year. We're going to try and catch some sharks on the fly rod. Catch and release. It should be fun. In fact, me and AC Fishing, we're talking we might go out and do some fishing because he's going to get a brand new Yamaha. Shout out. Ballin'. Man's a baller. Moving up from the 2-stroke. But he was talking about doing some fishing. We were like, we got to bring that tuna rod or shark rod because there's been just so many tuna and just big sharks and everything out in the ocean. You'll literally have like yellowfin, blue, like just giant bluefins right off the beach. You know what I mean? When's the shark fly stream? So I just got my truck on the road. All right. So truck, then trailer, then boat. We're like, you know, $1,000 to $2,000 away of in just progress of me fixing and time of me physically fixing it. So we're almost there. The truck was a big step. The truck was a big, you know, thing of getting it fixed and getting it to where it is. So we're almost there. We're almost there. I don't know why I'm tying it down because the Easy Body will just compress it. But I guess you could theoretically just tie this down like this. I'll leave the blue sticking up. I kind of like that. Let's throw some peacock curl on it too. I like that. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit. If we can get an Albies stream in this year on the boat, I'm going to be so happy. Choke and stroke. I'm going to be so happy if we can do one fishing stream on the boat this year. And I think we will. I'm being very, very diligent with my money. I made a couple little Warhammer purchases here and there, but very little. Very little. I've showed much restraint. And I'm just saving my money, spending my, you know, paying my bills, and essentially figuring out whether I'm going to fix my trailer, buy a new trailer, or like a used one, and then we're going to go with the used trim unit because it's like $2,200 for a brand new trim unit for what is it? 19 or it's a 2000 Honda BF130. So what is that now? 24 years old. Do I want to spend $2,500 on a 24-year-old motor? Probably just get a used trim unit. If the motor keeps rocking, it keeps rocking. If I got to, then I'll save up and get a 150 Yamaha or something, or a used 135 Honda or something. So, by the way, this is a blonde right here, classic fly. And now what we're gonna do is, you can call me Choke. Okay, Choke is my file. Okay, very good. Gotcha. Yeah, you can call me Choke. You can call me Choke, brother. Just like a lawnmower. All right. I wonder how many people have never seen a choke in a car or know what a choke is for a carburetor. I wonder if you took like some Gen Z, like young kid, TikTok kid now, and you sat him in like an old Trans Am or something, or like a truck with a choke and like a column 4-speed shifter, and you're like, I'll give you $300 if you can get this thing, and it's wintertime, right? Hard to start the motor. You got to get that choke up. For those of you who don't know, the choke kind of helps add a little bit more gas or whatever, or add a little bit more air to the carburetor so you can start it when it's cold. I forget if it's gas or air. I don't know. I didn't do much carburetor stuff in my days, but you adjust the choke for when you're starting, whether it's cold or hot, right? I don't even remember whether it's air or fuel. I completely forgot right now. Maybe one of you guys can tell me. But like you got like a truck with like a choke. It's wintertime. There's like a push thing for like the fuel pump. I've had to go and like I remember like driving like old 50s Chevy trucks, Ford trucks with like column shifters, and like I think there was like a Model T once, and I was trying to, or no, what was it? Maybe it was a really old Volkswagen. Oh, it was the Bug. It was a Volkswagen Bug from the 70s, I want to say, and it was manual. And I think it was a column shift manual, I want to say, or there was like a manual shifter on the floor, but it was like an automatic. It was some weird thing where like I couldn't find reverse, and I was trying to find. It gives more fuel. Okay, thank you. Oh, your RX-7 had a choke start? Are we talking about the FB or an FC? The FCs were fuel injected. That's what I had. I had an 87 with the 13B. What did you have? One of the what was it? A 12A motor? That had carbs, right? But I'm trying to like find reverse in this Volkswagen Bug, and I couldn't find it. And it was this really weird thing that you had to like go down and then like it was like where like fourth gear or something. I just remember I was out there, and thank God my boss knew, because he was like, I used to build Volkswagen Bug motors in high school on the side of the road with a 12-pack. I'm like, all right, yeah, cool, whatever. Like, shut up, who cares? But I was out there for like 30 minutes trying to find reverse on like a Volkswagen Bug, and it was the weirdest. The gear layout was it just blew my mind. I was like, there's definitely a reason why we don't do this anymore. Because that was like the least intuitive thing I've ever found. Wow, you had an 87. Was it because the RX-7 in 87 was the RX-7 FC. Same year I had. 13B motor, so it was a 2-rotor rotary motor. Fuel injected. There was the naturally aspirated 13B, and there was the 13BT, which is the turbo version. And they were all fuel injected. But some people would switch them, I think maybe to carbureted. And they would also disable the oil pump system. My good friend Rev had one, and he would literally it was like a 2-stroke RX-7. So I had the champagne colored one. But they were fuel injected, so I don't know why yours was carbureted. Maybe somebody switched it. Because I think the previous year model, which was the previous model from like the late 70s or early 80s, was called the RX-7 FB. It had a 12A 2-rotor motor, and I believe it was carbureted. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I remember in my buddies, they disabled the oil injection system because what they had was, because it was a rotary motor. In case you don't know, rotaries are literally triangles that, as opposed to a piston motor with a cylinder and a piston connected to a crankshaft, there's an eccentric shaft with with a rotor, which is like a Dorito looking thing, and it has seals at the top, and there's 3 seals, and it's a 3 cycle for the motor, but it's so cool how it's designed. It's pretty cool. But there was an oil pump delivery, or there was like an oil system where what it would do is it would squirt oil into the cylinder or into the rotor housing to prevent wear on the apex seals, I think is what it was. Like an oblong triangle. Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's not a perfect triangle, that's for sure. And I remember my buddies disabled it or something when he got it, or it was disabled. So he was pouring 2-stroke mix. He was pouring pre-mix when he was putting gas, and he also then cut the exhaust out on it. All right. Do you remember Cherry Bombs? They would sell Cherry Bomb exhausts in they probably still do, but they would sell them in like what's the name of those, Summit and those other websites? There's one more website I forget for like, you know, that everyone uses. There's Summit and there's another one. Whatever. Jegs. These are like high school memories from when I had a Trans Am. He had the local junkyard cut out his exhaust. Not JC Whitney, but that is another one for truck stuff. How's it going, Southern Fly Guy? And also, how's it going, Cozy? And he had him put cherry bombs, 2 cherry bombs. Now, inside the cherry bombs, I think there's like glass resonators or mufflers. I don't know what it is. But it sounded semi-normal. It was an RX-7 with straight pipes and a cherry bomb exhaust or something. First off, I've never seen anybody in the RX-7 community ever do that. This is like a, like, you know, this is like a thing you do to a Ford Probe. It was like glass packs. Yeah. Within like a week, the glass inside got destroyed or something from the heat of the rotary motor, because it went from being loud to being the loudest freaking car, just a straight piped 2-rotor motor. And he was working at like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, and he would start his car every morning. It'd just be and like so freaking loud. I remember one of his neighbors moved, and when they moved, they like told him that they're moving because of the sound of his RX-7 in the morning idling or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've to this day remember that being the case. It was the loudest fucking thing. It became cherry bomb. It went from a cherry bombed exhaust RX-7 to just being straight pipes, because like the interior of the cherry bombs got melted or something from the heat of him revving it up and dumping it, which is where the name Rev It Up and Dump It came from. You'll see Rev It Up and Dump It every once in a while. It came from him. He would just turn, look at you, dump the clutch, completely get sideways, and just go flying off in an RX-7 and rev it up and dump it. So that's what you do when you have an RX-7. You rev it up and dump it. I'll never forget, there was a battle of the bands at the local beach. There's cops that set up a roadblock. He pulls up, and there's cops everywhere. He just starts doing donuts in the RX-7 in the middle of this intersection. Peels off away. I turn around, drive with him too. Apparently the cops follow us all the way back. I was in an 87 Trans Am. They pulled me over. They're like, all right, where's your friend? Where's your friend? He was in a Mazda Miata. We saw it. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. I knew there was another car. I wasn't with that dude. Now I'm like admitting to lying to the cop, but whatever. And I don't know where the dude, this is what I said, I don't know where the dude with the Mazda Miata is. Meanwhile, I am parked in an 87 Trans Am right behind a red 1989 RX-7 that looks like a Mazda Miata. Like how they didn't put together that was the car. They were like, nope, it was a Mazda Miata. We know it. I don't know anybody with a Mazda Miata, dude. I'm telling you right now. And I'm parked right behind my buddy's RX-7 in the driveway. and they're like feeling my tires. They were like, "Oh, your tires feel pretty hot. Were you doing burnouts?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is like a two barrel Rochester 1987 Pontiac Trans Am. Guess how much horsepower it came out of the factory? 120 for a V8. I'm not doing burnouts." And the cops left. That was so funny though. They're like, "Where's the Mazda Miata?" They're literally like, he's like put his hand on the RX-7. I'm like, I don't know where the Mazda Miata is, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a guy in North Texas that has a 3-rotor RX-7. Oh my god. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I ever get to drive a 3-rotor RX-7, a 3-rotor anything, I'll be a happy man. Especially with a dog box or either a sequential. Like that. Oh my god. Oh god. Yeah, so eventually I'm gonna have to get rid of my 240. I'm never gonna be able to fix it. Yada yada yada. I'm gonna sell it as a parts car, sell all this stuff. In the future, there's a couple options. RX-7, right? This is when I'm actually stable adult with enough money to do something like this. I can't have a boat and a drift car, right? And it's just too much, right? Especially when I have to rebuild the entire damn thing. I'm better off buying a new chassis. So I was like, oh wait, what would I get in the future? AE86 is my dream car. Okay, Hachiroku's. We're talking about 1986, 85 Corolla SR5s here in the US, or the GTSs, which are even harder to find. They're the rear-wheel drive Toyota Corollas. Woo! That's what old school, what started it all. 20 cam, black top motors. What are they? The 4 AGEs? 4 AGEs, I want to say. Oh god, now I don't remember the name of the motor designation. Oh man, I don't remember it. But that's what I like. Those RX-7s I like, FCs, because that's what I had, and you have to be like a drug dealer to buy a 4AGE. Yeah. You have to be a drug dealer to buy an FD. Even 10 years ago, it was like 30 grand for a chassis. Or like it was 15 grand for a chassis like 20 years ago almost, or 10 years ago. Imagine being a stable adult. And then obviously maybe another 240, another S chassis. I almost just want to get a right-hand drive S15 once they become legal. But I think the price of cars in Japan dropped. They were like really expensive. I remember when they first started importing cars, you could get an S14. You can get an S13 for like 8 grand. When they first started it. They just started importing cars. It was reasonable. You're into VIP sedans? Ah, very cool. You had an E46 drifter. Ah, nice. I love the E46s. I love those 3 Series chassis. I do like those. Not so much working on them, but as opposed to like a Japanese like an S chassis, so much easier just to work on your driveway, you know what I mean, on the side of the road for drifting and stuff. But the Aussies are doing V8 R1 motorcycles. I've seen some of that stuff. My favorite is the Aussie muscle car stuff, where they're driving the what is it? I forget the name of it. The Super Muscle Series or whatever. Where they're driving like Holdens and stuff. How's it going, Gabe? Hope you're doing well, dude. Yeah, so VIP sedans, what are we talking, like Toyotas and stuff? JZ motors, like a 1JZ swap? Oh, what about a 1.5 JZ where you take the head off a 1J and you put it on a 2J? I think that's what it is, right? Or are they putting the head from the 2J? I forget. I think it's the bottom. That almost doesn't make sense, right? I think that's what it is, though. I forget. I had dreams and aspirations, 1J swapping my S14, all crashed and burned, and, I stopped driving the car because of it. It rotted out, and that's my fault. I'll never forget it. I mean, just living in New York as well, living next to the ocean did it, but if I drove it more often, it would have been fine, but it just rotted out over time, the floor. I could fix it. Will I ever? I don't know. the expenses of like having a boat just in general is so high. And just maintenance, let alone constantly fixing the trailer, the boat, this, that, you know what I mean? Paying for gas and all that and blowing up motors. It's like having a drift car is what it is, having a boat. You're just constantly breaking stuff. That's all it is. Yo, Choke and Stroke, thank you, or should I say Choke, thank you for the gift sub to Superman. That's very kind of you. Very kind of you. Get some of my Life Flies hearts in the chat. Thank you very much. Toyota Crowns, the Nissan Sema, and don't forget. And Choke and Stroke, thank you for the gift sub to Cozy as well. Appreciate it. Another round of applause, everybody. That's right. That's right. Give it up. Give it up. Thank you, Choke and Stroke. That's very kind of you, my friend. And to Gabe's as well. All right, all right. No more round of applauses, all right? Now we're going to do a moment of silence in appreciation. That's right. And now a round of applause. Give it up. Give it up, everybody. Thank you, Choke and Stroke. Very kind of you, my friend. Now, I'm going to need you to cut it out. All right. But thank you. Giving out some gift subs to valued members of the community. I think I know the Nissans. I'm trying to remember what they are. I know. Are you talking about, what is it? The Sema? Isn't it a Nissan Sema? Isn't that what it is, right? One of them, I want to say. Is that what you said? Yeah, it was a Sema. Yeah. R33s, 4-doors. You know what I'm talking about? GTSs. Isn't it the GTS the 4-door, or is that the 2-door one? The GTS 4-doors. That's like my favorite. But the Mazdas, where the 3 strokes come from. I mean, the 3 rotor. I said 3 strokes. The 3 rotors come from. What is that Mazda called? I always thought that would be so badass to like pimp out. 6-speed swap it. 5-speed swap it. Yes, more 4-door horse. Okay, you gotcha. Yeah, watch out, Supra. You gotta watch Twitch. Twitch is a. But yes. I do like the 4-doors. I never got sideways in a 4-door. Mind you, an S14, I feel like an S14 is almost as long as 4-doors half the time. Like it's pretty big compared to an S13. Ah, man, I do mean like I don't want to sell the car, but like I'm gonna have to like completely redo all the floor panels, like half the body stuff, like literally areas where the subframe mounts in the rear. Like, oh my god, dude, it's gonna be so much work. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think it out. If I can make enough money that where I don't have to sell it. I mean, I could just buy another S chassis at some point, just literally a chassis. But guess what an S14, just a decent chassis goes for? No motor or nothing, just rolling chassis. I'm assuming it's probably 10, 12 grand nowadays. Used to be 5. Used to be 3, 4 if you're lucky, maybe 6. If the guy was really high, he would be like 8, 10 grand. But nowadays, I'm pretty sure it's like 10, 12 at least, if not 15 for just a chassis. Yeah, all good. Twitch's moderation, we'll say. A friend of mine had a Toyota Chaser. Thing felt like drifting a carrier ship. Yeah, I would imagine, dude. It's probably a whole nother feeling drifting a 4-door. Because what I was doing is I was going up to Englishtown, New Jersey, and I went into their like C-class drifting course, learning how to drift, and essentially just like kind of teaching you the basics. You walk the entire track on foot because there's like steep banks. It's a wild track. And went drifting there a couple times. A lot of fun, but very expensive. Drifting is like no joke. So when people are like, oh, get ready, I don't know if you're going to enjoy having a boat because stuff's expensive. I'm like, you ever buy a car and blow up an SR20 the week later and have to do a swap? Oh, yeah, now you need to get a custom modded piggybacked ECU from Australia from Niztune, because now you gotta. Oh, it turns out the motor you bought has too large injectors and the cams are modded, but now it's not running right. Ever thought of doing karting? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like they have drift carts or something or whatever, or just like straight up karting where they race. They have a place up the island. It seems pretty cool, but I don't know. It's all right. If there was a place close that I could like go drifting, I would probably do it. But if I have to drive 3 hours, you know what I mean? But drift the Bentley Continental. Yeah, it's the one thing to have some fun. It's another thing to go on a track. It was a whole nother experience, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, but it was like having to drive there and then break so much stuff. I had to redo my entire wiring harness on the left fender. It was drifting. Somebody was like, "Yo!" I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Your whole wiring harness is on your wheel." I'm like, "What?" My entire wiring harness for the body. I forget. I don't even know what. It's just so much stuff in there. It was like a wad like this of wires. It was literally completely rubbed through. I don't know how the car was still running. Like, I don't know what was connected to that or what. But like barely any of the wires they were like completely rubbed through almost. I had to sit there before I drove home. Take the entire bumper off. Entire fender. Okay? Rip the wiring harness off, sit there and redo every single. There was like 100, so many wires. I sat there for the entire second day because I had to drive home that night and redo my entire wiring harness in the fucking like drift parking lot or in the parking lot of Old Town. So I missed and then I went out, drifted a little bit and left because I was like, dude, I'm going to break something again. And I have to go all the way from New Jersey back to Eastern Long Island. You know what I mean? But it was a lot of fun, but it was quite a process. You know what I mean? Quite a process. But there you go. A nice easy body fly. Oh my God, I forgot we were fly tying. Oh man. You know, I think by now most of you folks probably get the you probably watch the show not only for the fly time but also for the banter and chatting. But I truly feel bad for somebody that comes in and they're like, what is he doing there? What's that? What's this? And like, we're just sitting here talking about like 4-door sedan drift cars and like, oh man. Hey, but you know, that's what it's about. If you guys want to, you know, that's why we got fly tying tutorials. Let's be honest, right? When we're doing really cool, you know, but when I'm tying the same fly, or I literally tied essentially 3 versions of the same fly: Surf Candy, Mickelson, Easy Body fly, and we all ended up in the same place. But you know, we got a fly and drifters. So, little story before we get done for the night. We made it. Look at that nice little 3-hour streaming mark. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Whipped up some flies. Ended up talking about a lot. I'm actually gonna. Hey, what's going on, chat? I'm going to zoom out here for a sec. Little story. Okay. Had my, still have it, 95 Nissan S14. Tragic story. It's all rusted out now and the floor panels and all that. Are you planning on getting your Vice this month? Very cool. Had my S14. What I did is I put my kayak on the roof. Now, if you know what my kayak, it's pretty darn heavy, right? It's pretty big. I took my kayak, put it on the roof, and I got the key. You can get this key from the local county park. You open up a gate, and now you're driving through the county park, and it's just you're going through like a hiking trail through the woods. And you can go all the way back. It's like a couple miles through this county park because it's this huge park. It's just woods. It's just pine barrens. And you can get to this lake. And I took my 240 back there, and I never forget. I'm like going up like hills. I'm like going over like logs and stuff like that. And I'm in my S14 every once in a while too. Because I was like, I kind of did it a couple times afterwards, and I was like, kind of almost like, I'm not driving fast, obviously, but like, 5 miles an hour, like hitting the gas a little bit and like drifting in the park, like with the kayak on the roof to go fishing. Oh man. And I'm like, I drive past, there's some dude walking his dog, and I go through the woods in a lowered S14 with a kayak on the roof. I'm like, hey, how's it going? With like a loud ass exhaust. They're like, so speaking of flying drifters, you know what I mean? Before that, I had an S13. I would go trout fishing at the Carmen's River. And it's literally like probably, I want to say it's probably at least a couple miles, probably like 2, 3, maybe more, through straight up just dirt road through the woods next alongside the main road. But it's like on the other side of the fence. You're in the county park and you're going to drive up to one of the trout spots, designated fly fishing only spots on this river. And I'm in my S13, and this was even more ruggedous, but luckily there wasn't a kayak on the roof, right? There wasn't a lot of weight. But this car was like beaten up, 15 different owners, probably crashed once, multiple RB20s in it, RB26s, SR20s blown up in it. It was drag raced, probably street raced before I got it. Who the hell knows? And I'm driving this thing through the woods, man. I'm like hitting logs. It was so much fun. And all you hear is the sound of the HKS blow off valve in the woods when I'm going trout fishing. The scary part is I'm in the middle of the woods somewhere in a county park, mind you, but it's like kind of in a we're going a little bit more west than Long Island. The crime rate starts going a little bit higher in some of these areas. You start seeing a little bit more serious graffiti of like MS-13 or something, right? So, and I would even be worried about my truck getting broken into, because all you gotta do is hop the fence from this like neighborhood with all these houses, and you're in the park, and you'll find like beer bottles, you'll find like Dutch Masters broken up. So people you find Dutch Masters, people rolling blunts, okay? And I was like, dude, somebody could so easily just smash my window and hotwire my 240, because we're in the woods, there's nobody here, and just steal it. So that's why I stopped doing it, because I was convinced somebody was going to steal my 240 one day, because it's not very hard to steal like a 1993 Nissan. I'm going to tell you that right now, if you know what you're doing. Just from wiring diagrams as a mechanic, you know what I mean? So I got too scared. I was so worried that car was going to get stolen, because back then, especially, like Honda Civics were getting stolen. So, and like modded cars in New York were getting stolen a lot. Like in the city, 240s or whatever, Hondas, Acuras were getting stolen a lot and getting chopped up back then. It probably still is, but car culture was really in a really healthy spot in New York. This is like post Fast and Furious, when, it was kind of more serious, but a lot of drifting stuff, a lot of drag, all sorts of stuff. It still is. New York still has a pretty healthy car scene, but not that I'm involved with it. You're going to get a Peak rotary vise. Ah, very cool with the base. Okay. Peak's a great brand. Peak's a great band. Band and a brand. If you didn't know that, they also have the Peak rotary vise band. National band. Tuba band. You should check them out in Des Moines, Idaho. I made all that up. My buddy sent me an old Aerostar, pretty hard in a Kmart parking lot. Got a fat ticket. Okay. Yeah. Listen, if it doesn't end up on a tow truck, you didn't send it hard enough. You know what I'm talking about? Am I right? Been there. Don't go drifting at the beach parking lot on a Sunday. There's too many people around. I know. This guy shows up. I forget who it is. There was like a senator. There's like a senator that's been in office for a really long time, or a congressman. I think it's a congressman. Oh, I know who his name is. Tim Bishop. Revel, this will crack Revel. He hears it. May or may not have been drifting in a parking lot, a quiet parking lot near the beach on a Sunday. That's why you don't do this on Sundays. You do it during the winter. Mind you, I'm going to tell you right now, having muscle cars throughout the years in high school, the cops would pull us over. They're like, "What are you doing? Burning out. Go down to the beach. Go do some donuts. Have fun. Be safe. But do it in the beach parking lot if you're going to do it." We've literally had cops tell us to do it back in the day in high school. They changed their tune to that later on, but when younger cops got into the office, they stopped being a little bit more laxed on it. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, like, everybody had muscle cars, and this is before my time. Like, we're going back to like 70s and 80s. You know, just the culture out here. Everybody had Trans Ams and stuff, and I had stories from one of the guys that famous rod builder out here. He would run from the cops every night, and they would put a ticket in his mailbox because they couldn't catch a Chevelle with a big blocker and everything. You know what I mean? My friend's Kia has a $600 alternator, most stolen car. Oh my, really? Yeah, Kias are also very stolen because you can literally steal them with like a electronic USB stick or something. They have like a terrible security device when it comes to electronics. But so we're drifting, may or may not have been. This car pulls up. He's like, "I called the cops. You're going to get arrested. I know Tim Bishop. I know Tim Bishop." And this fucking guy's yelling at us. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? I think the cops may have actually showed up first, whatever. But this guy pulled up. And it was just so funny. This guy was like, "You can't be doing this." And we're like, yeah, we get it. We're sorry. He's like, "I called the cops. They're coming. You're getting arrested." He goes, I know Tim Bishop. I know Tim Bishop. And he's screaming this. And it's just like a local politician. "I know Tim Bishop. I called the cops." And it was just one of the funniest things. I'll never forget this guy screaming at the top of his ears, top of his mouth, lungs at our faces. "I know Tim Bishop. You can't go anywhere." And we're like, what the fuck does that have anything to do with it, bro? Like, we were, all right, yeah. We shouldn't have been drifting in the parking lot at the beach. But, like, what does fucking Tim Bishop have to do with anything? I'll never forget this guy yelling that. It's, like, such a vivid memory in my mind. And, like, even the cop's like, "I don't give two shits, dude. Like, you need to leave, all right? Yes, okay, you got it, cool. You called the cops. Yeah, we got it." And he just wrote us a ticket for street racing. The fucking judge dropped it. They just, like, charged us $500 in impound fee is what it was. It was some bullshit. But, so we got charged with street racing. Never been convicted of street racing. For literally, it was essentially doing donuts. We were drifting, man. It was like doing donuts. But I think the cop, and then my buddy has the idea is the cop did it on purpose because the judge was like, "This is clearly not street racing. And the way that the ticket was written, we have to drop it." So my buddy is probably right, because over the years I changed my mind. The cop probably just wrote it in a way because the guy complained and he knew Tim Bishop. What are you going to do? You got to write him a ticket. But he wrote it in a way the judge would have to throw it out. I know Tim Bishop. Anyway, that's my story for the night. I hope you folks have an awesome night as well. What were you guys saying? Renzetti's the only vice I've ever broken. And I've used them for midges. Yep. Wow, what broke? The jaw. Interesting, the jaw broke. I will say, this Regal Vice, it cracked on the side here. But it's still, nothing's been an issue. It's also because I've used it so many times. I've dropped it. I've done so many things. I've tied about 50 million flies on it. Renzetti's, Travelers, rubber band would break. The rubber band would break or something, and the pin that held the lever would pop out. And I would lose it, and I had to order parts. And then I stopped putting rubber bands on my vices, and I started using Regals. Haven't had an issue since. Little crack here on the side, but on the cast, I guess, after many years of opening and closing and the pressure on the jaw system itself. But I'm sure if I call the Regal, they'll probably just replace it. Little dongle, but the parts are spendy. Yeah, that thing shot across my kitchen. Yes. Now, I've never had the jaw break, but like I said, the pin wore out over time for the lever, for the vise, and then the rubber band, I had a rubber band break. So I ordered a rubber band and the pin, and they were great. I got parts from, from Renzetti, and fixed it, and it was fine. And honestly, Travelers are great vices. I recommend them for starters and stuff, if you want a vice that lasts for years, but maybe you should save them and get a Regal. Well, look, you're going to have issues no matter what over time. Don from Regal would say don't use vices with rubber bands on them as a joke. Renzetti's are great vices. Regals are great vices. I would say shop around, like check them out. Maybe if you could see one in person, go to a fly shop. Just physically touch it, check it out. You know, see what it feels like. Like, do you like the rotary system? Like whether it's inline or not, you know, the jaws, the base and everything, you know. I will say Traveler's a great vice. You're probably going to love a Traveler. If you do end up getting a Regal, you'll probably love that as well. You know, and if you gotta, you know, I have a crack here. I'll show this to you. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I love Regal. It's my absolute favorite thing, but look, there's a crack here. I've had this for like a year now. I'm sure if I contact them, they would replace it. You see that? There's a crack in the cast. Hasn't gotten larger, hasn't done anything. Why? It's probably because this, look. You can see it just, yeah, right there. You see? It's expanded right there. It might explode one day. For all I know, I have no idea. But if I contact Regal, so all you need to do is this. You pop this off. Look at this. And we're good to go. You know what I mean? So it is a nice part. You can change the jaws. It's a pretty nice system for changing jaws. And this is a nice healthy jaw. You can see it's got a lot more spring to it too as well. So, but apparently they made a new one. Now, by the way, look, this is what a new one looks like. Look at the nice purple on it. You see that? Look at the purple on that. Beautiful. Oh. Look at this one. Look how worn out. Look at the bottom. You know why that's like that? It's because my hand has rubbed on this so many times over the years, the past however many years of full-time commercial fly tying, that it's worn it out. I've literally worn out the powder coating on it. Check that out. It's like when you have a 1959 Les Paul that Jimmy Page was sweating on stage with, and it's worn down where his jacket's been rubbing on it, and that all the Sonic douchebags are like, dude, the wood's breathing, bro. That wood's breathing. It's relict. It's breathing. So it's making more. I don't know if I believe that or not. Like, I'm semi in the camp. It doesn't make a difference. So I'm joking when I say Sonic douchebag. But on the other hand, I love worn out guitars. You know what I mean? They just got the love. Like, they've been played. They've been loved. So the wood knows it's a guitar, bro. All right. True. So what? So does that mean that it's better if the wood's showing or not? I'm still confused. Does the guitar sound better worn or not? We all know that the wood is sentient. If you've ever owned a guitar, you know that you can talk to it late at night. Only at certain hours. Only at certain hours. Yep. All right. Shout out to Regal, by the way. How did you know it was me? Yeah. Eric says you can see my camera. What? What are you talking about? Eric's fucking with you. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm completely lost track. I thought you were making a reference to me talking about the guitar, but how do I know it's you? Oh, because I put two and two together. You said Eric. So let's think about this. You said Eric. Dude, give it up. Everybody. Oh, sorry. I hit the wrong one. Give it up. Give it up for Rev It Up. Oh, damn it. For Rev It Up and Dump It. You did say that in the beginning. Give it up for Rev It Up and Dump It for playing a hilarious. That was pretty good. I'm glad you did that, Eric. To our friend Kitty here, for convincing you that I could see you right now through the stream. Have you not watched that? Have you really not watched that much Twitch that he thought that I could see you through the phone? Yeah. No, you said Eric, and unless you were a stalker or some crazy internet person, you wouldn't know that. Even everybody who's been watching me for years, maybe they know Rev's name is Eric, but they don't call him Eric. They call him Rev, or we don't talk about him because he's the one that we shall not speak about on stream. He's like Voldemort. Anyways, I'm glad he did that. Don't let him get you like that. You can't be that gullible. All right. Cozy, thank you so much again for hanging out. Kitty as well, thank you for tuning into the stream, as well as our good friend Rev. Choke and Stroke, or Choke should I say, thank you for the gift subs, my friend. Going out to Gabe's. Gabe, I hope you have an awesome night. Thank you for tuning in. Going out to Supra and Cozy. Big shout out again to Gabe as well for the 11 months. Hi, Poppy. Yep. And Doc, everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out and watching. Supra, appreciate it. All you folks chit-chatting, or whether you were lurking here or on YouTube. You are super. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You just got to keep an eye on that man, all right? But thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to go eat some food and clean up after the stream here, put all this fly tying stuff away, or this material, I should say, back in its appropriate place. But thank you so much for hanging out and watching. Hope you folks have an awesome weekend. I don't know what's going to be going on this weekend. Sundays, I do... we have Savage Worlds that I run the game. Tomorrow I might, we usually play Warhammer or something. But I'm working on getting my truck inspected, working on the trailer, working on the boat, yada, yada, yada. So we're trying to get the boat back up and running. But I'm sure we're going to be streaming at some point here, either this weekend or next week. So, of course. Again, I've been trying to do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. I've been missing a couple days a week just because I've been so damn busy. But at some point, we might try and get a 3 or 4 stream, per week schedule finally officiated, I guess. Or completed, I guess, for 1 week at least. But thank you again for hanging out, and hope you folks have an awesome night. So thank you again, Doc. He's saying, is your FaceTime camera permission on? All right, Eric's, you got to watch out. I didn't know Eric was smart enough and technology-wise to trick you with all the lingo, but apparently he does. So, but thank you again. I hope you folks have an awesome night, and we'll see you on the next one, all right? Have an awesome weekend. Peace!